if she wanted to, she could have chosen to press him more on his beliefs right here. But instead, she's just sort of opening the door of like, you really think you've made your case well enough to move on right now? Have you gotten $300,000 worth of making your case by now? Because it does not feel like it. And I want to make sure you got your time to make your case. And he doesn't realize that at all. It doesn't seem, and he's just like, no, because what he really came here to do was not to make his case, because he doesn't know shit about the case. What he came here to do was to play a bunch of out of context clips as though they were gotchas from Candace's whole history archive of videos, which we all knew that was the point. We all knew that was his strategy going in. And yeah, it's no surprise.
Question for you.
But I am sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What evidence do you need to see for you to say Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk?
That's a great question. So I actually expected in this preliminary hearing, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like we got him on camera taking the shot.
Yeah. I was expecting to be proven wrong about basically everything during the preliminary hearing. And if it was a clean cut case with overwhelming evidence, it would have been so fucking easy to prove every conspiracy wrong. So easy. There's like, oh my gosh, it's just like any number of little details, and you could easily just like cut off an entire wing of the conspiracy landscape because it's no longer possible. And we got none of that.
At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours all around. Like we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt before we even get to the trial. People are going to see and go, oh crap, like it was really Tyler Robinson. I was expecting to at least see evidence that, because I had reported early on that the source was saying that Tyler did not step foot on campus that day. It is my perspective that he had something to do with something. I do believe he was disposing clothes at this phase. I do believe he was disposing clothes. He was involved somehow. I find Lance to be more suspicious, if I'm being honest with you. And also, like I said, the use immunity that was given to Lance by the feds, the fact that the feds didn't ask him any questions, the fact that I spoke with Lance Twiggs' family, and they were like, it's very weird that the feds are not asking him more questions. He's exactly the person that I would imagine to be involved in some stuff. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly. But when we got to the preliminary hearing, there was not a single piece of evidence that I felt was slam dunk. I was waiting for that, a photo. I mean, anything would have made me go, all right, I think this could be the guy. If they had handed over the discovery on the text messages, since that was their big, ta-da, we've got the text messages, that would be the first thing that I would hand over. But actually, who was holding them up? Like I said, it wasn't the prosecution. They're right to say we were handing things over, and we heard the defense argue on behalf of the prosecution saying it's not them and it's not the FBI, it's the FBI that's holding on to things. Because the FBI took everything. The FBI took the gun, the FBI took initially the screwdriver. And then when I heard testimony about the things that they found that were suspicious, example being the backpack, that's something that really bothers me, that they say they traced the shooter, they traced the route that he went on, and then there was an abandoned, we know it looks like he's wearing some sort of a backpack. We know that there was an abandoned backpack found at the bus stop in front of a library, and they felt that this should be taken into evidence. They took it. The FBI, this was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her last name is, but you might want to fact check that because I think I'm blending last names. She was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets a call on the 13th and they stop testing on this backpack because they find that the backpack actually belongs to somebody on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of the campus, you're going, well, what the hell are they doing all the way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer for why you just gave it back. That's not that, like, why would you give it back? You're acting like no one's ever been killed by somebody on their team before, right? So I found that to be very strange that it was on the exact route that the alleged gunman ran, and that their excuse was, we just gave it back because we heard that this belonged to somebody on Charlie's team. So that to me is, this is why the investigation itself feels underwhelming. When you learn, and this is completely crazy to me, that some of the artifacts that Charlie was wearing were immediately returned to Erica. That's absurd. That is absurd. Everything should be in evidence. When you learn that the car that they carried Charlie in to go to the hospital, they had immediately towed, cleaned, and back up for resale, that's absurd. That should be sitting in evidence. And any police officer that you speak to will say, or a person that's been involved in a crime will say, I didn't get my stuff.
Notice how Andrew Wilson hasn't interrupted at all during this whole time? Because he doesn't know shit about any of this evidence, and he doesn't have any good talking points on any of it, I would assume. I don't think it's because he's being polite. I think that if he thought he knew this evidence well and wanted to dispute it, which theoretically he would if he thought it was overwhelmingly in his favor, I think we would probably have some interruptions here.
Back for years. Had nothing to do with anything. It was just around. And they kept it into evidence until the trial was over, and it has to be approved. I think somebody said by the attorney general has to sign off on giving you those objects back. And we were told this is all fine. And we see, this is just one example, Erica holding the crucifix. That should be in evidence. Irrespective of if you feel bad for her, I think she should have it and it's sweet. That should be in evidence. Immediately paving over the crime scene. This is like the craziest thing ever. It's like defies common sense. You immediately, and when you heard the guy who did it actually go up on a podcast and explain, I got the call. They said it was a paver emergency. I've never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency. They had already had someone come up and dig up the dirt. So by the time he got there on Sunday, the dirt had already.
So just to be clear, Candace has been ranting for like three minutes now or something like that, maybe more. And it's been this rapid fire of things that don't add up. And it's been several, and maybe like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 points kind of strung together. And any one of them is wildly suspicious. And hugely problematic that needs an explanation if you're going to be like, it's all good, Fed slop narrative. This is the most informative segment about the case, I think, in the entire debate, because Candace is speaking uninterrupted, because she actually knows about the case and is kind of on a roll of describing things that she thinks are weird about the case. It's pretty much the only segment where we're actually going to get a substantive string of things that actually add up to one of their theories. But I just want to point out that any and all of those are big problems. Big problems. And when you actually slow down and pick apart the paving over the crime scene, when you actually pick apart the car not going into evidence and being immediately gotten rid of, when you pick apart the necklace and the shirt, I mean, the necklace going to Erica and the phone going to Erica and the shirt being MIA, those sorts of things, when you really pick those apart, when you then go for expert opinions, when you do your research, when you actually devote a lot of time to this case, like Candace has, like a lot of us have, every one of those points she just made becomes damn near disqualifying for the mainstream theory. There's no way to explain getting rid of this vehicle that Charlie's body was transported in without a trace, with no documentation of it, with no like proper just like collection of that evidence, and no like comprehension of why this car is in this state. What are these things in the car? Like, that's a crime scene. That's where the body was when he died. Basically, like, that's a part of the murder, because he wasn't pronounced dead until he got to the hospital. So everywhere that his body was before the hospital is crime scene, and they just get rid of that car. That doesn't square. That does not square in a normal murder investigation, and you need an explanation for that. And if you don't get one, I ain't fucking voting to convict if I'm on the jury. So she just rapid fired through all sorts of things that Andrew Wilson should be able to dispute. We just didn't get the dispute.
Already been dug up for him to lay down pavers. That is what people are looking at and going, this is weird. There needs to be answers for why this was done. And he tells us the call came from the feds and the governor's office. UVUs washed their hands of it. And what he's saying sounds true, because we heard during the testimony, one person described the regions of who was in control of everything. The feds were in control of the courtyard. So in order for anybody to have paved anything, that was federal territory, so to speak. I'm maybe not using that in the best cop term, but the feds were in control of the courtyard. So these are things that I think should be answered for. Why are we doing things differently than you would in any other criminal scenario of keeping the evidence until we know more, until we're confident, the various decoys. I did it. It just doesn't look right.
Okay, so go back to the question. So what would you need to see for you to say
something? If they had, I was expecting, here we have him, he took the shot.
If you have not seen this conversation on Julian Dory's podcast between Baron Coleman and JSM, Joseph Scott Morton, I'm pretty sure is his name. It's very informative. This guy is one of the premier death investigators in the world, a long career of very high level medical examination and autopsies and stuff like that. Worked a ton of cases, including high profile ones. And he believes the official narrative. He does not believe the conspiracy theories, but he's a genuine adult with a brain and a lot of expertise. And they have this really wonderful conversation that's just dominated by a whole bunch of like, Baron asking him, based on your expertise, tell us what you would expect to see. Tell us how the autopsy should be conducted. Tell us how they should collect this evidence. Tell us how this all should happen if it was a normal case. Because then when we get to trial, we're expecting to see all of that. And if you watch this whole episode, 4.5 hours almost of it, you will come away with a very fleshed out understanding of what we would expect to see. And you would also, develop some understanding of what we did not see that we were expecting to, and why maybe be a little suspicious. But of course, Joseph also presents a very compelling, in that one, he doesn't really present a whole lot of his own perspective, but you can get his perspective from it, that it's not, you can't rule in one direction or the other just based upon like things being weird. It's complicated. Cases this complicated are, they take a lot of nuance and detail and time and effort and dissemination of facts and kind of teasing it all out to really get to the bottom of things.
Here it is. And then I'd be like, great, a clear image of him on the staircase. I'm like, that's definitively Tyler Robinson, and he was on campus. We got nothing. We got literally nothing but hearsay of people saying.
But you basically get no case.
What?
You basically no case on planet Earth. You get the,
sure.
Oh, we got a picture. Here's him with the murder.
There's a talking point. Anyways.
And here's him taking the shot.
Most of this doesn't take place on a college campus that has surveillance everywhere.
Yeah,
One clear image of his.
But I understand when you're
his car
asked,
plates.
if you're asked the question, what would it take?
Yeah. Really quickly to flesh out that point that she was just trying to make. You're telling me that you have a fucking parking garage in 2026 filled with surveillance cameras that are not high quality enough to read license plates? Fire that fucking company yesterday and sue them to get all of your money back. Duh. There is no other point of having surveillance cameras in a parking garage. You have to be able to read license plates with your surveillance cameras in your parking garage. Otherwise, you're fucking useless. It's 2026. Obviously, the cameras in the parking garage can read the license plates. And if they can't match the license plate on that car based upon the surveillance footage they have, why? Why not? Because a lot of people don't realize they did not match the license plate. His license plate is not discussed anywhere in there. It is the make, model, and description of the car. That's what they're going off of. Just like, oh, he was wearing Converse too. Not to mention that the whole campus is covered in security cameras. I walked it myself. I located them all myself. There's many, many angles of security cameras that are right on him. Not a single face shot. 0 clear images of his face, including in the Chick-fil-A where he was allegedly eating food, which, you know, by definition sort of has your face a little bit more exposed.
To convince. It'd be the same question be asked of me. Andrew.
Not to mention, I've made this point before. At the register, when you're ordering food at a restaurant like that, at a Chick-fil-A, there is almost 100% of the time a camera directly in front of you, over top of the cashier, facing the cash register so that no one steals from the cash register. Seems pretty likely they would have that at a location on a college campus where they're selling this food. And it seems very likely to me that it would be pretty hard for Tyler Robinson's face to not point directly at that camera at some point during that interaction. But what do I know?
What would it take to convince you that the oppositional is
Patsy.
true, right? That he's a patsy or something like that. Just good, clear, concise evidence that's been presented, right? And is being presented that I could go through and link all together to see if there's actually some clear picture of there being a patsy. That's what it would take from me.
Okay,
Just a good,
I don't disagree
just
with
a
that. We
good,
heard the
hang on,
details.
just a,
No, what it would take for you, Andrew, is to be smart enough to even conceive of how a patsy works and what a patsy is and how cases and evidence in journalism is done. Because if you actually understood conspiracy theories and the history of these things, like JFK, for example, you wouldn't have made half these arguments. You wouldn't be that dumb, in my opinion.
good evidentiary standard. And then, of course, I would change my mind.
So just to qualify this, so there is a possibility in the next few months that you may come out and say, guys, it's done. Tyler killed him. So you're saying yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for the audience here. That for
Without
you,
question.
For you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy?
Of course, I'm going to always follow evidence. So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I don't mind people being truth seekers and justice searchers, and the internet has helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? However, there's also people who, you know, they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture and they what's called flooding the zone. You flood the
Yeah, and no one's losing their mind about that. No one's out here having a moral crusade about flat earthers. No one cares. No one cares about Q. No one cares about like these are all just people out there on the internet that just do their thing. And if you don't agree with them, you probably don't even have them in your algorithm, and no one ever thinks about them. There's no crusade. There's no media campaign. No one's paying $300,000 to debate a flat earther because it's so evil and dangerous to science to prove him wrong. No one cares. Doesn't matter. Conspiracy theorists that want to go into Tartaria and Lemuria and space lasers and like the Rothschilds and all these other things, and, you know, true or not, whatever they are, is like, no one fucking cares. Do your thing. Have fun. Does not matter. But Andrew Wilson cares. If you insult Erica Kirk, oh my God.
zone with tons and tons of conspiracy-based ideas.
And yeah, flooding the zone is fucking annoying, and it is not good. It's horrible for the information space, for our brains, for our public discourse and dialogue. Andrew Wilson is currently on the team that is flooding the zone. It's fucking annoying, but there's nothing to be done about it. You can't restrict flooding the zone without restricting freedom of speech. It's just a trap of a free society with freedom of speech, and especially with the internet.
Go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation. Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. Those become claims, and claims have to be defended. Just like mine have to be defended, yours have to be defended. And that's what we're going to get to now. Yeah.
And the question is, why does Andrew care so much about these claims? What? You'd think he would care more about like trad and feminist and like, I guess maybe the perspective for him is that he's so like fight the left that he's really dedicated to the idea that this is leftist violence because you need to combat. Like, I could see that. Yeah, I'll give him that.
You want to get into it? Would you guys like to take an ad break?
We'll take an
before we come
ad
back? And then we'll talk Erica Kirk and TPUSA.
And the conspiracies that have been conjectured by Candace Owens in regards to this case in Charlie Kirk's
Perfect. Folks,
assassination.
we'll take a 3.5 minute break and we'll be back soon.
So that is the totality of Andrew's side of the story. That's all the explanation of his position you're going to get. I hope it was enough to convince you that he's right. Because now he's going to try to take on Candace, and it's not going to go very well. This is going to be a really long video, guys. Oh, man. This is why we're going to put out the short version later. But I figured I've put all the effort in to get all my shit out and set up a little studio here in this Airbnb. Might as well just react to all of it. Because I didn't want to cherry pick things. I didn't want to cherry pick singular clips, though it's perfectly reasonable to do to make a YouTube video about it. It just felt like there's just so much in all of it, and all these little details and the amalgamation of all of it added up. I just wanted to make a full, complete response. So think of it like a live stream, because basically it's a live stream. It's not live. And the breaks I have to take, we're cutting those out. But all the, like, we're not going to do any editing of like my actual words during this whole thing. We're just going to basically smosh it all together and put the whole thing out. And then we'll edit the short version that's much more concise for sharing and for normal people that don't want to watch like a 5-hour, like semi-live stream. So anyways, let's get through their ad break. I'm going to skip their ads and we'll just keep working through this.
Okay, so we're officially back. Andrew, before we go into the other issues you want to talk about, is it fair to say you're good defending your position of the overwhelming evidence?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. You take the lead. Go for it.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of questions for you, and I want to make it super painless, right? So no traps, no gotchas. I'm just going to ask them direct, and I think that as long as they're not loaded,
you'll see that this is all lies.
If they're loaded, you should not respond yes or no. But as long as they're not loaded, if I just directly ask them, I'm hoping that you'll just give me a direct answer. So here's the
We're about to get into the clip farming.
questions that I have.
Wait, before we get into that, I would like to just reply to that. So just to be clear, we agreed to debate our claims, and then I agreed publicly that I have no issues having a conversation with you about other things that I discussed that were outside of the court hearing and things like other evidence that's come across our lap and things that we've been speaking about. But I just do want to make it clear to viewers that for whatever reason, you think that you have a right to sort of depose me.
I'm not deposing. I just want to ask you some
but
questions.
you literally said that I want to be able to question
This is
you.
a meta conversation.
Right,
We're having a
but
meta
okay, so
debate.
now we're transcending. Like, let's use a word. To use a word.
So this is just my opinion looking in from the outside. I think what Candace is doing here is trying to carefully just sort of like lay down the reminder line of A, I have sources I cannot disclose and will not discuss, so don't ask those questions. And B, there's certain legal areas where I'm not going to go there, legally speaking, because I don't want to entrap myself or get into legal trouble or divulge anything that's like relative to others. So basically, I think she's sort of being like, trying to kind of remind him of like, and you can ask any question you want, but if you're trying to like legally depose me and expect me to answer anything you want, go fuck yourself, because I'm not an idiot. I think that's kind of what she's doing here.
That you're saying, but this is what you're doing, right? So this part to me feels like a bit
Am
of
I allowed to ask the questions?
She's also pointing out what he's
you
about
can ask
to do.
questions, but I made it
Ask
very
them.
clear to you via email and with you in conversation that we should be speaking.
Yeah, I
isn't
know,
like-
but I
it's
wanna-
just-
I wanna ask you
if you
some
want to
questions.
depose me, you should join
I'm not
the
deposing you.
defense team.
This
But you're
is
like,
part- this is the legitimate
can you
part.
answer it? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know what you're going to ask.
I know.
I'd like to
And
answer
if
it
you
as
have
I
issues with
because
it,
I'm not.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get
okay,
it.
just so we're clear.
Usually in the debate, if something's not loaded, I'm just direct.
Because you kept saying I'm Joe Rogan. They had no evidence. And now you're like, let's move away from the evidence.
You actually, yeah, okay. Anyway, so direct question, super easy. Was Lance Twiggs DNA in the rifle, as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered that in the first part. We can't say that for certainty. I told you the context of which they spoke about those things.
So no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty until we know what other the
So this is him trying to milk a gotcha that he used to have, but doesn't have anymore because Candace already admitted that she got this wrong and corrected it. So he's trying to like make it a gotcha, even though Candace has already corrected it.
I've said of principle.
So that would be no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say no, as far as I know for certain.
We can't say that for certain.
And just like she was just saying, he's trying to get her to say the words exactly how he wants. And Candace is like, fuck you. I can say the answer however I want, however represents my feelings.
You can say that for certainty.
If your energy here is going to be like you're my dad and you can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall. I'm familiar with this debate strategy.
I am just telling you.
Yes or no, we're not debating anymore. We're having a conversation. So I already addressed that in the first half of this about why.
No, we're still definitely debating. This is still.
No, it's not a debate.
This is inclined to your.
Saying I want to probe things that sit outside of the evidence. I actually already addressed this. You asked me. You're not going to go like where you're sitting and I'm on trial. I'm not on trial.
Okay, great.
So you can have a conversation as we've agreed to.
Let's talk about the Foreign Legion.
Sure.
Was the Foreign Legion, do you believe, trying to kill you?
Yes, that's why I reported it to the correct officials.
He thought this part was going to go very differently than it goes.
In government. That's what I was told, and I handed over that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office.
What's your best?
He thought, oh, this is such a wild claim with no evidence that I'm going to get a gotcha on you.
Piece of evidence for that?
Well, it was
positive evidence.
It was told to me by somebody who was high up in the French government. I passed off that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office. I also passed it off to Trump's office, Donald Trump's office. And that's all I can tell you. I wouldn't be able to probe any evidence because I don't have the power to do that. I'm not the federal government.
Didn't think this one through very hard because, yeah, it's a wild claim. And who knows if it's true or not? Who knows if she was misled about her source or by her source, or who knows if the source was misled, or who knows, right? But her defense is so fucking easy. The moment that she just stands by it and is like, hey, I'm a journalist, I had a source, they told me a thing, they're credible, I checked them out. And she can't talk about it anyways, obviously, because she can't give away the source, gave it to the U.S. government. It's like, it just made Andrew look really bad because it's just a really easy explanation. And she stood by it. And I mean, she nailed it. Whoops.
I would also like to say that this becomes this other piece of what you do, which is when people say this, I was told this, and this is the evidence that I have, and I'm willing to have that conversation and write the email to the correct government body that deals with this. Like, I can't hack into Emmanuel Macron's bank accounts and say whether or not the information.
I agree.
But then you go, well, where's your evidence? It's like, well, my evidence is that I reported it. I did the right thing that you're going to do. So if somebody calls and says, hey, Andrew, there's a viable death threat against you, and that person definitively has the rank to be able to tell you this, and you say, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to report that to the feds, and I go, what's your evidence? It's like, well, I got the information, and I gave the information that I got from who I got it to the right body of people.
She's a journalist. Getting told by a source with credentials that you can verify information that the source would know based upon their credentials, or to even just getting told anything by any source, that is evidence. That is positive evidence. It might not be positive evidence that she can tell Andrew Wilson who the source is, but it's still positive evidence. And that's how a huge number of journalistic stories get published. The evidence is very often anonymous sources that you're not going to know who they are.
That's what I did.
Got it. I just want to make sure. I'm not trying to trap you. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
And that's why I say I want to know what you're doing now, because this has always been the thing. It's like, we actually can't win on the overwhelming claim. So we're just going to go and bring up everything.
I'm not trying to trap you. Okay, Andrew, then what the fuck does the French Foreign Legion have to do with anything? That question had nothing to do with the Tyler Robinson trial. Nothing to do with Charlie Kirk, really. Nothing to do with any of it. That's very obviously a question of you just trying to trap Candace in a claim that you thought that she couldn't back up.
Thing that I think can try to embarrass her. I reported exactly.
I'm not trying to embarrass you. I just want to make sure that I get your positions.
I have not said. Yeah, go ahead.
Now you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give me?
We can pull up the clip. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Can I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved? Okay, where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half.
But the question I'm asking is about positive evidence.
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive, and and again, I already explained this.
Positive evidence has nothing to do with it. It's irrelevant. 9/11, I don't have any positive evidence of who did it. The evidence I have is that 19 Muslim terrorists that don't know their ass from their face can't rig 3 skyscrapers in New York City with explosives to controlled demolition them. It's not possible. And so the negative of the possibility of the mainstream narrative being true and plausible in any sense of the word indicates, by definition, the rest of the conspiracy and the shape of it. You can't tell everything about it, but you don't need positive evidence to disprove the mainstream theory and to establish that this is definitely something else going on. Positive evidence not required to disprove Andrew's theory and arrive at the narrative that it must be a patsy, because patsy's the only explanation in the absence of Andrew's theory working, and Andrew's theory doesn't work.
Top of the show, but the reason why
he's harping on positive evidence is because state actors are extremely good at obscuring their hand in assassinations and other clandestine operations. Just look at the Jeffrey Epstein case. Blown wide open, investigated for years, the whole world looking at it, paper trail everywhere, just loose ends all over, victims testifying, just like a million loose ends in every fucking direction. And the amount of time it took to credibly establish in the mainstream conversation that he was an operative for Israel, it took forever, because it's just like they don't just leave their fucking shit around. They don't just blow the case on themselves. The whole point of clandestine state actor backed operations is to obscure the state actor at all costs. And the operations are designed that way from the very beginning. And they're quite good at it, usually. But that being said, the moment of action with something like this is incredibly complicated. And if anything goes wrong, as things tend to do, usually a lot of human error gets baked in. Sometimes the conspirators suck at their jobs, and often things just bad luck. Things go wrong. And so then stuff that happens right at the event, after the event, the immediate reactions of people, the immediate responses, the immediate reporting, all of that is usually your best slice to look at of like, is this a conspiracy? Because that's where things are the most chaotic and the narrative is the least prepared. Because if, for example, it was a shape charge and they wanted it to look like a chest shot, but then accidentally a fragment or a turning of the charge caused this wound on his neck to occur, and suddenly the entire story has to pivot from chest gunshot to neck gunshot, and everything becomes a scramble at that point to destroy evidence, to alter the scene, to kind of steer the event, because like you're fucked and you got to respond to that right away. So usually conspiracies are given away by sort of like little details that were missed in the chaos of trying to cover everything up effectively right when it happened, and any mistakes or incompetence that accidentally F things up. So that being said, when you're looking at the evidence and you start to see these kinds of inconsistencies, usually you want to trace it back towards more and more earlier and earlier in the timeline, because that's when you get less and less sort of prepared narrative construction. The other thing that sometimes happens is that in the course of an investigation, something unexpected gets uncovered that requires the entire cover-up to shift. This happened with JFK when the Zapruder film came out, and suddenly everyone can see that the head moves in the wrong direction for the gunshot. This happened in the Charlie Kirk investigation kind of on a number of occasions. Like, for example, when the whole TPUSA sphere, the whole shill crowd was all just hammering like Charlie Kirk never wavered on Israel. He was Israel's best friend. And then Candace Owens releases the text messages directly from Charlie saying he was going to leave the pro-Israel cause. Oh, fuck. The whole cover up, their whole plan has to shift. And it's in those shifts and in those kind of disorganized times when you're most likely going to spot the evidence of a conspiracy.
People find Israel to be an interesting question is because, truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And instead, we have the argument that just like quickly and easily, Israel, through their Zionist donors meaning the billionaires and multi-millionaires that devote their lives and funding to building Israel, paying Israel, sending money to Israel. Those are the people that built TPUSA. This is the Zionist donors. There's a couple of the donors that are not Zionist, but a huge portion of them were Zionists, and they contributed tens, hundreds of millions of dollars over the years to build this organization. And it was a Zionist organization through and through. And it became more and more Zionist the more money they poured in and the more they grew it and the more they kind of like pushed Charlie into his own little corner and kept him separated from all the other business operations that were going on around there. And Charlie starts using their Zionist organization, which to the public, it's his, but to the private, it's theirs. It's not Charlie's. To the money, to them, it's theirs, and they built it with their money, and they're not fucking giving up this investment. To Israel, having the largest Republican youth outreach political organization in America under their control as a Zionist entity is one of the most valuable political tools you could ever have. Money could not buy that. That requires years and years and years of finding this miraculous man named Charlie Kirk that can actually build it, that actually has the zeal and the life and the capability and the brain and the cult following and the luck and just all the things that come into play to build that asset. That is an invaluable asset. That is the kind of asset that intelligence agencies dream about. They scheme about those for decades. They attempt to build those always. That's the holy grail of intelligence agencies, is having a political organization that targets the youth in your target country. Holy shit. That is gold. And Israel built it here in the USA, called Turning Point USA. And Charlie was the face, and the public thought of it as Charlie's, but the donors did not. But there's a problem there, because then when Charlie Kirk starts questioning the Israel narrative and starts asking if there was a stand down order on October 7th, all these questions, starts saying that they're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza, starts to not like Bibi at all, starts to speak out about the war in Iran big time. This man is going to be president one day, and he's speaking out against your next war, and he has the entire conservative movement wrapped around his finger, especially the young people. Yeah. Then he starts taking your Zionist asset, TPUSA, and inviting Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith to mop the floor with the Zionist perspective by just speaking the truth on that stage that you paid to build your multi-million, your $300 million, whatever, organization. Charlie Kirk has taken that organization and turning it into a Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, and Candace Owens organization. Do you fucking think that Israel is going to let their most valuable intelligence agency asset, their most valuable political piece of subversion in America in probably 30 or 40 years, just slide away down Charlie's personal feelings about whatever the fuck he thinks he's about to do with that stage? No, not a chance. And so when Charlie starts exiting from that, regardless of whatever money was going on, other crimes going on, Charlie discovering something he wasn't supposed to know about, any of that, aside from all that, his influence, his future presidency, his strong opposition to the war in Iran, and his dramatically shifting opinion on Israel and Jews. Yeah, that's Israel needs the war with Iran right now. And they do not need Charlie Kirk using their Zionist organization to fuck that plan up. And it's, for my estimation, entirely likely that Turning Point would be currently filled with debates over whether the war in Iran is just and right or not. And I suspect that, the Dave Smiths and Tuckers of this world would be wiping the floor with their opposition right now, because there's no argument for this war in Iran. There's no argument for us winning it. We're fucked. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible situation for America. And TPUSA would have been the stage where that conversation was happening. But instead, Charlie's gone. It's back to Shabbat's shaloms. It's back to Zionists everywhere. Every single page shill is a Zionist, and they just push out everybody else. And the Christianity is a very, very milquetoast, very watered down, very Zionist. And it's pretty obvious if you have any political awareness of America right now. Side tangent, but yeah.
There was the rabid, not even that, everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then other than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel is involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Carol made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be, maybe they were students.
The most relevant one is that Harrison Smith made the claim that someone very close to Charlie Kirk directly told him that Charlie said he was worried Israel would kill him if he turned on them. That's just the first piece. It's not particularly strong because it's third hand, but there's evidence right there.
And they were Israeli.
Although it is interesting that it was posted a month before Charlie was killed. Right around that critical period where all the tension was building, and it was probably starting to be decided that Charlie had to go.
Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after, coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary. He was quite busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss, in Hamptons the week prior, not the week prior, I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place. Mm-hmm. And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this. But we cannot say for certainty that Israel called the shots and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like to see.
There's no positive evidence.
Whatever you want to say, however, positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well, positive evidence would be material evidence and other evidences.
What we've said is on our show is what we've said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way
Again, you don't need positive evidence to arrive at that being the most likely theory. All you need is negative evidence for Tyler Robinson, and then you realize that, oh yeah, we are talking about a political assassination, one of the higher profile political figures in America right now. This political assassination is literally on the level of JFK. And if you just look at history does not lend credibility to the belief that that would be carried out by a lone gunman. No, never. Almost every single example in history is lone gunman that's actually just a fucking patsy for a CIA operation or something of that sort, or, you know, in whatever country you're in. For example, who was it? It was Yitzhak Rabin that Israel murdered, but it was totally just like some really angry settler. They're totally on his own, right? Was it Rabin or was it Shamir? I forget which Israeli prime minister, which is kind of embarrassing. It's been a minute since I looked into that one. Yeah, you don't need positive evidence to get to Israel being the most likely candidate. All you need to do is realize that, oh, this is a super high profile political assassination, and they're presenting it as a lone gunman, but the evidence doesn't line up. Negative evidence for all that. That's fucking bullshit. So what are the other possible explanations? Well, when you get a high level political assassination, it turns out Israel is by far the most prolific political assassinator in the world. They do more assassination than fucking everybody else combined. Usually their political assassinations are in the Middle East targeting brown people that they hate, but that does not preclude them from going abroad and, you know, taking out some particularly important targets in other places too. And there's tons of historical precedent for that. It is built into their doctrine. Like the Mossad was basically founded on that core principle, and it was very early built into how Israel functions because they realize that they're so small and they're up against all these Arab armies that they need to develop a targeted killing program that takes out all the most important points of this network of Arab armies rather than trying to fight them with brute manpower. And that has been how the Mossad and the Israeli military structure has worked from the beginning. And they are not shy about talking about it. They're very proud about it. You can read the book Rise and Kill First by Ronan Bergman, I think is his name, if you want to know more. So actually, no, the moment that you get to the fact that this does not look very credible, and I doubt that this Tyler Robinson thing is checking out based on the evidence I've got, you immediately turn around and say, so who else could it be? And Israel's at the top of the list, obviously. I mean, you could make an argument that elements of Trump's CIA, American deep state government are high on that list as like a, you know, little breakaway clandestine thing in our intelligence apparatus. Could be. But it'd be a lot easier to get Israelis to go along with such a plan than Americans. It just makes it's a lot more. I mean, Israel is the most logical choice. Sorry, it is. Deep USA was theirs. They're not giving it up. But there's also positive evidence, not a lot of it, but there is positive evidence.
They tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. I mean, the day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right. So.
Do you have any evidence that Erica Kirk or TPUSA participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I've never said they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk. So how could I say that I have evidence they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you don't believe that they did?
I never have said that statement, so I'm not going to get you to ask me personal questions about things that I've never said on record.
Okay, fair.
Your team is sending messages in the back saying they have a video they want to play.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what the video is. Yes, you said that there's a video you want to play that
this might be the
Candace said she has full confidence Israel was involved.
Yep.
Yeah. He said evidence that they killed him. I said this is why people think they're involvement.
They have the clip.
Yeah,
they can play the clip.
Yeah.
They're referring to a clip.
I think this is the super long pause that gets super awkward and drawn.
Yeah, who?
No, okay. That's later.
My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
I also involvement.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence, you think that
I think
that
France.
Yeah. So semantically, it doesn't line up. Andrew Wilson was trying to claim that she said something that's not what that says. Involved. Yeah, sure. And she stands by that. It's kind of funny. We're getting closer and closer to where the clippers in the back are driving Andrew Wilson's brain because his brain is running out of steam.
and Israel.
Yeah, I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that clip is from like 8 months ago, 6 months ago. It's like completely irrelevant. Her knowledge of the case, her perspective on the case, all the evidence in the case, it's all completely transformed by now. It's not the same world. She's not the same person. The evidence is not the same. It's just transparently ridiculous to try to pretend to clip farm some 6-month-old thing and say like, so you must believe that today, defend it. fortunately, she's careful about what she does, and she tends to put out things that age well. And so she feels confident defending it. But it's just kind of an absurd premise that a 6-month-old clip is the most effective way to interrogate Candace's position today and what she believes about the case today.
This would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not.
But
the
you don't
United
have any
States
positive
government.
evidence of
Okay,
that.
okay.
Right?
I don't. Can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think, and I just tell you yes, I think
Well,
they are.
that's a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every right
think-
to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's positive evidence for your claim.
I literally just said I think, and I am allowed to think.
Yeah,
And
you're
keep
allowed to
saying,
think,
"Do you
but
have
you're making a
positive evidence?"
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think.
I
Yes.
agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay, so-
Nobody's disputing whether or not
Yes,
Candace
but
Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking is if
But
you have
what's your issue then?
positive
What is your issue with the
evidence.
statement? I think.
What we're disputing is whether or not Andrew Wilson does think. And we're still out. The jury is still out. We're working on it.
Israel is involved.
That's
I
not
do.
what. That's not just what you said. You said
I did
that
say I think.
it's with full confidence.
Yes.
You would think that if you had full
Can you have
confidence,
confidence to think when you think?
but if you,
Whoa, what a gotcha.
if I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work.
This is such a. Sometimes when you're in the moment and you try to come up with an example, you come up with a bad example. Sometimes you just come up with an example that's just kind of like, that was kind of weak. And while you're in the middle of the example, you're like, fuck, I'm trapped in a kind of weak ass example. And normally in conversation, it's not a big deal because you just be like, that's a bad example. And you come up with a better one because you're just talking to your friends. But when you're on camera, it can be kind of awkward to like accidentally start riffing on a really stupid example. Yeah.
Right, with full confidence. I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew.
That's how you would know whether or not you had full confidence.
Can I tell you something?
No, let me finish. If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right, and I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or at least walk me.
I don't think she says this. I wish she had. So, Andrew, your evidence that you were going to be late for work is because of the fact that you're this far away and you knew it was that far away. And so you think blank. Cool, Andrew. My evidence for the fact that I think that Israel and France are involved is that an extremely high level person in the French government came and told me. It would be like saying, I believe that Tucker Carlson likes hunting. And my evidence for that, aside from the rest of the internet, is that he told me. But where's your positive evidence that Tucker Carlson likes hunting? I need positive evidence. He told me. What? Like, what?
Walk me through the mindset of why it is that you can think that with
I actually
evidence.
don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I think, which I can do. I'm
They're
allowed to
pertinent
think
to this debate.
It's not exactly pertinent to this debate.
It's 100%
It's not pertinent because our
These are
debate
claims made about Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's the complete substance of the debate.
No, actually, would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind that you said I could ask you about any of these things to my heart's
Feel
content?
free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or ask me
I'm
why
not
are you allowed
structuring
to
how you're allowed to reply. I'm just asking you direct questions.
I have full confidence that you do not feel that you represented your claim well, and so now what you came
That's
prepared
nice. I
to
just
do
wanna
is
know-
present yourself like a professor of
I
fallacies.
just want to know.
And to say you're not allowed to say that. You can't.
You can say whatever you want.
Well,
Nobody's
I said it.
disputing that.
It
I'm
seems
asking-
that you are disputing
I'm
it.
asking
I think
specifically
that- and
why
this
you
is
think
all
that.
done. I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this why I think Israel is ultimately going to be proven to have involvement in this. I just explained it to you in the middle, and now you're wanting me to structure the sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think, and I've explained to you my thought process. I don't need to structure it in a sentence. If you feel like a professor today, you picked the wrong day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is that Israel and France were involved?
I've made a lot of sort of like, not criticisms of Candace so far, but just like places where if she'd had, time to think or time to do it over, or like if like that, maybe I would do it a little differently, or just with my time I've had to think, I'll add more. But this is actually a criticism of, I think she missed this one. And it's not a big deal, but I think in the moment she said no, because she was kind of on this train of thought of like, Andrew, I don't need to do fuck all. Like I don't care. I can think, do whatever, which is totally hilarious and a great way to be there. But I think she accidentally brought that mindset to this answer of, do you think that all of your fans want to see your positive evidence? And she just kind of said no and started rolling into it without really thinking for a second. And she had a great opportunity to be like, yeah, that's why they watch my show where I give all the evidence, and you should watch it sometime because then maybe you know more about the case. Because she's presented all kinds of positive evidence. And that's why her fans like her. And that's why they watch her show. And that's why they all know about the case. Is because she's presented all this fucking positive evidence all over her show. So she unfortunately missed this one. But
in the most traumatic public assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just going to drip to them? Like,
cool.
Here's why I think.
Cool. Yeah. So she saved it. She brought it back with the best line ever. Cool. I'm wrong. I stand corrected, Candace. Fair play. So she said no first, but then he interrupted and gave her time to think. And then she came with the banger. Bam. That's why they watch my podcast.
Every time we come across any of these discussions, they're watching this in context and they know why I'm saying it. So, for example,
And let's just remind ourselves, ultimately, viewership is not everything. Popularity does not mean truth. No, it does not. But, important but, the fact that Candace Owens has the most watched podcast in the world right now, the fact that so many people are tuned into this case and follow her for this case, is not unrelated to the fact that she's the one asking the questions, sharing the answers, and genuinely looking for the truth. That's why everyone's watching her. If she was doing what Andrew Wilson does every day, no one would follow her. If she was running a Gary Melton type of show, Paramount Tactical, and she was like trying to construct narratives and like lie and like just whatever he does, no one would watch her. The size of her platform, the reason why someone feels the need to pay lots of money to come and try to take her down all the time, the reason why everyone's trying to attack her, and there's all these propaganda campaigns to try to take Candace down, all of that is because people believe her, because she's credible, because she's honest, because she's genuinely invested, because she loves Charlie and she cares and she's here for the truth. And we all know that. Everyone knows that. And that is why she's threatening. She doesn't have this audience because she's lying and grifting. Obviously. Go look at the Liars and Grifters channel. See how many followers they have. It's not a lot. So there is sort of this like fact, this underlying truth baked into the cake that the reason why they're scared of Candace Owens and they want to attack her, the reason why she has such a big audience, the reason why they need to like kind of make all these like gotchas is because people watch her because she's good and because she's honest and because she's the best on the internet right now for it. And that's also why they don't watch this whole universe of shill slop. It really is that simple. The internet votes with their time. We all vote with our attention. And an awful lot of people vote that Candace is onto something. And if you presented a good enough case, they would vote that you're onto something and they would watch your show. That's actually why this is not a topic that's worth debating. It's not a good topic to debate because it's so important. The evidence is so complex and so vast, and there's so much of it to connect together that a debate is just the wrong format. Video is the right format for this. That's why Baron Coleman does all of these episodes where he can,
someone on the other side agrees with me.
Do a long form discussion and put evidence on the screen. And walk through that evidence carefully and slowly and in context and build a story. And if Baron gets something wrong, then his detractors, maybe Paramount Tactical, whoever, or even me, if he gets something wrong, can then take his video and make a video about his video and pick it apart and have a long form discussion. Way more effective way to do this kind of thing. And in the past, I've done this to people like Nick Fuentes at specific times where you can just take someone's video that they put out if they act like a dumbass and you can just tear them apart. You can just take their video and clip their statements one by one and just debunk it with evidence on screen and fuck them up. It's not hard to do. And it's actually a lot easier to do than just debating them. And if Andrew Wilson really just wanted to prove Candace Owens wrong or really just wanted to debate me like he said he did, that would have been a way more effective way to do it. Because he could have, carefully constructed his arguments and thought it through and fact checked himself and not, missed all 7 of the charges that he doesn't know what they are. But he wanted to debate in person, so here we are in person, and it ain't going so well.
You're bringing up, Candace, where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who was high ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless.
Of course. But
So there's good reason to doubt this.
Though, if I then took it to the federal government, like you can't just go out there making a claim to the federal government, you get in trouble for making false statements and things of that nature. So, and then you go, well, I'm going to probe that. Well, how can you probe that? This happened to me.
I can ask you, well,
this
that's
is
not
my
what I'm probing
podcast.
specifically.
This is my podcast. I'm sharing my life and my experiences and what has happened to me. And you're basically coming in like you're going to, regulate how I'm allowed to say it.
Yeah, I mean, here she's got him on the back foot and it's not good for me. It gets worse.
I regulate anything. I'm asking very pertinent
You're sounding
questions.
a bit like a professor trying to regulate and say, Candace,
You sound very defensive and like you just don't want to answer questions.
I did answer your question 3
You
times. I just
literally-
didn't say it in the way that you wanted
You
to
just
say
kind of
it.
obfuscate and you run away from it, but I would like for you to
Let's
actually
just do
focus on
a
it.
clip that you guys have prepared because it's pretty. I think with full confidence, people will recognize the strategy that you're trying to employ. So let's get to the next clip you have prepared.
Sure.
That was the moment where Andrew Wilson started to truly lose this debate, because that's the moment where Candace Owens started to tell him his own strategy, which is not flattering for the audience to hear, and then to dictate his own pace and to say, you're here to clip farm. You're a bad actor. I'm here for it. Whatever. Let's go. Play your next clip. And Andrew Wilson did not dispute any of that. that was implied there. He just said, okay, yeah, sure. Let's go to the next clip. Like you say, you dictate it here. And it gets worse. It just gets worse and worse and worse. The dog walking has commenced, but it is not over by any means.
They can pull up whatever,
whatever it is that you guys have prepared to
but I would still, on this point, I just want to make sure that you have full confidence that France and Israel were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you have no evidence for it.
It's worth noting that there he tried to say, yeah, they can pull up whatever clips they want, trying to pretend like they weren't already prepared clips, even though Candace just said directly, like, I think you've got a bunch of prepared clips and you're going to show them all. So just like, get to the next one. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe. And then he tried to kind of be like, yeah, it's like they pull up whatever they want. But it becomes more and more obvious as the time goes on that they are completely prepared, because they start pulling up clips that have nothing to do with what Andrew was talking about. And he doesn't know what they are until the clip comes on screen. And then he's like, oh yeah, this is my talking point for this one. He doesn't literally say that, but
all that you'll give us.
Well, I already did tell you where it came from. Like I said, I can explain it to you. I can't understand
Did
it.
that same higher up tell you that he's going to kill, or that France?
that line will go down in infamy in the world. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. So good. Yeah.
Kill Charlie Kirk, or just that you were in danger?
They said that the French Foreign Legion was involved and on the ground that day. I've already said that. You just don't like hearing it.
No.
And it's just out of curiosity,
Yes.
when you pass down that message to a Tulsi or Trump.
Tulsi's office.
Here's a little portion where Patrick Bet David jumps in and starts doing a far better job of asking questions than Andrew Wilson ever was. And then after a moment, they kind of realize that, oh, fuck, whoops. Here's the debate back, Andrew. Because Andrew just like sits and lets it happen.
Yes.
Tulsi's office. Are you giving them who told you that, or you're just saying, here's what I heard from
And
somebody?
I have this information.
Sure.
And of course, if they wanted to open a file on it, which I thought was quite mysterious, that Trump's office never got back to us. It was kind of weird about like, maybe they're not the correct office to. I did receive a response from Tulsi Gabbard's office, but I don't think there was ever any investigation into what I said.
So the call was, hey,
Email.
I've been told the email.
Yes.
Email was, I've been told
I have
somebody.
information, that the French Foreign Legion was on the ground during Charlie's assassination, and that, I mean, I have a lot of information, but
Well,
like,
you didn't give specifics who it was
A
from.
lot of
for
people
emails
have
that
been,
they would like, yeah.
honing in on Andrew's foot.
100, yes.
Comfortable giving 100% who it is.
I would absolutely give them as much
And can I
information
ask
as
the
possible.
question, if whoever's the U.S. government, why are you not?
Yes, it's very strange to me.
You know, so if that's the case, now they may respond back and say, we did, that's their position.
I did. That's why I did it in writing.
And so I'm glad that's the case,
Yes.
because so if they
And right
ask
away in
you-
Trump's office, his Margot got right back to me. She said it was on his desk. So he has that. There's no.
and if you do say that and they contact that individual,
So it's interesting to me in these wide shots where we see Andrew's facial expressions that he's watching this happen and he's not interjecting with anything. He's not trying to get back in control of the conversation, the flow and the timing. He's not trying to kind of take the questioning back over from PBD. He seems kind of happy to let PBD take over for him so he doesn't have to do anything, because, I mean, he seems like he's kind of like on autopilot, and it gets worse and worse and worse from here on out. I'm obviously projecting my perception onto it, but watch it keep happening and you tell me I'm wrong.
obviously you don't have to leak your sources here. Is there enough credibility where that person would be willing to talk to them and explain to them exactly what their sources
Yes,
are? Okay. I mean,
it seems reasonable. And so why he's asking me to defend that is like,
I'm not. Never
I
did.
think those are two different things. That's more
Two
something else.
totally different claims.
Why are they not reaching out to you?
I've asked that many times on my podcast.
What do you think about that, Andrew?
What?
The fact that she emailed, she gave it, and nobody reached out to want to contact the
They
source. that
probably
she's
didn't
willing
think
to
it was
share.
actionable, is my guess. But even if they did think it was actionable, great. Every lead should be followed up on within the confines of what's rational and reasonable.
Is it fair to say that this is maybe a different individual because this is a person that was involved with TPS
Well, we
and had a
don't-
relationship with
with
Charlie?
who?
No, her relationship. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't just anybody. So if an average person sends it, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know who the source is. We don't know any
Well,
of
then
this.
if it wouldn't you?
This is a topic of discussion that Andrew does not want to be wasting his time on at all. And he doesn't need to. He could easily be like, actually, I want to do a different line of questioning. This is my time. I want to reclaim it. Nope. He's just kind of floating in the water here. He's getting baited. He's getting cucked.
If you were in that department, wouldn't you want to? Even you assign it to one of your.
There's no
guys
guarantee
today.
they didn't look into it. How do we know? We don't
How
know.
could they?
How
They
could
didn't come
they-
get
she didn't give it
the
to-
information, more of the information. Because it was a
Well,
long file.
Yeah.
This is a separate. This
Did
has
you
nothing
send them
to do
the
with
guy's
debate.
name?
This is more on.
Well, I sent the email, assuming that he kept saying, like, you go and you make a report. You think they're going to come back to you and say, hey, what's more information? We're investigating this. And that didn't happen, which is what I raised.
No,
I
I'm
found
asking,
that-
did you send them the
especially because this
source
was at a time where they were saying that they wanted to explore every possible lead. I even texted Dan Bongino.
But did you-
So actually, it was three offices.
Let me ask you
the
a question and
executive
then I'll get
office,
you. Yeah.
Dan Bongino, and Tulsi Gabbard's office.
Okay, so the follow up to that is the following:
Mhm.
if they contact you to say, is that specifically to the French government or Israel's involvement in the killing of Charlie?
That wasn't about
Those are
Israel.
Two separate things.
That wasn't about Israel.
Okay,
It was they were
got it.
saying the French foreign, that person as a part of it was saying that it was the French Foreign Legion that was on the ground that
So
day.
I'm surprised
And I
that
think
called you.
then I find that to be very strange too.
I do as well.
Because who would want to make a report? Like, I mean, I've never made a report with the federal government.
Remember, Andrew Wilson is still in the cuck chair right now. And Patrick Bet-David is just taking over the questioning. And we've gotten way more interesting questions and way more ground covered just in the last 2 minutes than like the last hour.
He
ask you a
did,
question.
but what he
Let me
did
just ask you a
send
question.
it.
Let me just ask you a question, and I'm going to bring it to you.
Sure.
The question is in regards to, I've not seen that clip, so I'm seeing it now.
And then Andrew tries to get out of the cuck chair, and PVD just puts him back in it real quick. I mean, I'm kind of making fun of him and overplaying it, but it's kind of funny.
I'm full confidence. I believe that Israel French was involved. Is that also based on a source that somebody told you that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is that a gut feeling?
So in terms of Israel, I mean, what I've said is what I publicly have said here. I do think that at the end of this, we are going to find that Israel was involved. I do. Now, in terms of any of the hard evidence that's been presented, I think this has been a huge problem that a lot of us have had is that they won't even explore anything else that's going on in Charlie's life personally. So if we're not satisfied that Tyler Robinson did this in any way, then every alternative theory should be explored. Other evidence should be brought forward. We've done that in our capacity. Like when people keep saying she has no evidence, it's kind of crazy. I think we've broken like more stories than any news source in the world. I mean, down to pictures, details, police officers, what the dog's name was, because we're not the only people that believe there's a conspiracy here. The police officers that were involved, the many police, sheriff's offices that were departments that were involved that day, all believe there was a conspiracy. Down to the U.S. Marshals believe there was a conspiracy. They were my sources at the U.S. Marshals were saying they were
Candidly, so to speak. One of the reasons why I've had so much confidence in Candace from the beginning of this case is because early on, not super early on, but in some of the months after Charlie had died, I visited her at one point briefly and just got to talk to her for like, I don't know, like 30 minutes to catch up. I think I was passing through. I kind of forget the circumstances. And it was really just a friendly visit. I wasn't like doing any work. There was no really reason for me to be there. I just like wanted to check in and say hi and see how her and her team and family were doing. And we did inevitably discuss a fair bit of just like what was going on right then. And because we were not on camera and we're friends, I got to hear her just kind of like rapid fire unload on what she knew and what was going on and who she was talking to and what her sources were and sort of where her brain was at that day on that investigation. And it made it so fucking clear just how deep into this investigation she is and how many sources she's surrounded by and just like how much there is when you try to walk into her knowledge base on this case and talk about what's going on. Is like the number of law enforcement people that are talking to her, the number of people in Turning Point that are talking to her, the number of incoming and I'm not talking about a tip box. I'm talking about like actual established sources that she has vetted. And getting to hear her walk through that thought process and kind of divulge a little bit more candidly than she can on camera usually. I was kind of blown away. I was like, damn. And it was kind of, I think it was probably around the time where I was kind of like, you know what, Candace, you've got this. I don't want to like make my whole channel Charlie Kirk. I don't want to do Charlie Kirk every day, all day. You've got this. I'm going to kind of branch out a little bit and keep tabs from a distance. I'm going to go do my thing because it was just so apparent how much she got this. As you know, is made plain by all these different
basically sent on a wild goose chase that day.
But do you see how you say my sources?
details she's running through.
You're not allowed to have sources.
Well, the thing is funny.
CNN allowed to have
Well,
sources.
hang on, I have sources. If I said I have sources that claim none of that's true. In fact, my sources
This is the most retarded like debate tactic argument ever.
claim that her sources are lying. My sources claim that none of them believe that there's a conspiracy. My sources claim all of them really think that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman. If I just said that as hypothetical, wouldn't you say, what?
Yeah, I think what
We already explained this. You can do that, Andrew. You can lie. You can say that you have sources that you don't have. That's fine. You'll get caught someday. Your credibility will tank more than it already has. And then no one gives a fuck what your sources are because they don't trust you. That's the thing. Sources are just about trust. And you ain't got a whole lot of it right now. So maybe you just don't really understand how it works. Or maybe it's because you're not a journalist. You're a blood sport debater. So let the journalist tell you how sources work and just take a word for it because you look like an idiot.
probably adds weight is like then when I drop photos of the car that no one was supposed to see, people go, okay, her sources are legit. So, and then when what I say is then proven in court and nobody knew those things, people are recognizing that my sources are legit. When I say Charlie was scared in the last days, and then I dropped the text message, which you've just learned about a couple of weeks ago, of him saying he was leaving the pro-Israel cause when everyone was lying about that.
Which is a crazy claim to make before the evidence started to come out. If you weren't carefully paying attention to Charlie Kirk speaking and like putting together all these like disparate little comments he was saying on different podcasts and stuff, no one would have come out into the public square and been like, yeah, Charlie Kirk was turning on Israel hard. That would be an extremely risky claim to make, to pretend like I feel confident about that without having any like new evidence. So Candace coming out and making that claim was pretty strong at the time, but it was because she had evidence. And everybody tried to pretend like she didn't.
And they say, I think Candace's sources are legit. So I think what's happened is I've actually built up a rapport with my audience that it's not vibes and dreams. And that's why they keep watching my content, because I, like, for example, when I just the other day released the content of the shooter on the roof doing a lateral crawl, then they're going, I don't think these are just vibes. It seems like Candace's sources are legit. So I've proven myself in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that would legitimize your sources as being legitimate when it comes to the idea that,
Andrew, it doesn't matter what you think. You don't understand it. You're not a journalist. That's why everyone watches her. And the number of followers on her account is the evidence that you're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about.
they all believe that there's a conspiracy going on, which is actually what your claim is now. How would that actually, hang on, I'm almost done. How would that legitimize, well, it's not his debate. How would it legitimize these sources that even if it's the case that you get some court footage or some things like this, why would it legitimize that your sources are telling you all the marshals believe it's a conspiracy, all the police believe it's a conspiracy, everybody believes it? How would that legitimize
Well, what I am saying to you, and you are not forced to believe it. So let me just explain what I was answering here. And I think you understood what I was saying. Is I have, because people trust me, compiled a lot of information and presented it to the public. And this information has been proven true. We've presented photos, we have presented videos, never before seen stuff. The public has never seen it. And so what that does is your audience goes, okay, when she says that she has these sources, clearly she's telling the truth. Now, whether you would then go, well, I'm going to believe her when she says they don't believe, they think that there's a conspiracy, that's up to you. You cannot watch my content. I'm not here to tell you that you have to watch my content or believe everything I'm saying.
Well, don't you think questioners should get questioned as well?
By who? I'm not committing a crime, am I? By just like...
It's not a sentence. That doesn't... Okay, cool. Nice buzzword. Nice buzzword, bro. I mean, realistically, it doesn't really matter. No, Candace is under no obligation to answer your questions. Doesn't matter. The only obligation she has to that is to her fans. If they want her to answer the questions, she has to answer them or lose the fans. If the fans don't care or they don't want her to answer the questions, she actually has no obligation to whatsoever. Sorry, Andrew.
Well, I mean, aren't most of the people you ask questions of not actually committing crimes?
But what do you mean they should answer questions? Where? Like at a police station?
No, just like if you want people to come in and answer questions for you. I have questions about this in the investigation. I have questions about this. I have questions about that. You want them to answer your questions. Doesn't it seem totally fair that
Yeah, most of them don't answer. Almost all of them shut up and run. Almost all of them pretend that they didn't hear her ask the question because it's pretty awkward. We're still waiting on those videos, Erica. We're still waiting on that Doge style audit. We're still waiting on all kinds of stuff that she's asked for that they don't respond to, but she still puts the question out. And you're in the same boat. You can ask her all the questions in the world that you want. She has no obligation to respond whatsoever. But when your dumbass comes out here with $300,000 ready to serve yourself up on a silver platter for her, she is, business savvy enough to accept and offer the beatdown.
you answer back the questions people have for you?
No, they're not answering our questions. So it's also fair that they don't answer them.
So you're
That's why
so
Colbert should be in the chair. He's not.
Isn't that a double standard?
No, it's not, because he's not doing it.
Yeah, but that would still be a double standard. If you're requesting that he does do it, then that seems to infer that you think he owes you answers.
Oh, so inferences are allowed again?
And they never weren't. So that seems to infer that you think that he owes you answers. If that's the case, then don't you owe answers?
Well, I feel like I'm answering your questions and his questions about, I'm talking.
Honestly, she doesn't exactly, no, I don't think Candace feels like she's owed answers. Maybe a little bit, because we're talking about a dead man and they represent his company and they're acting weird. So maybe in some regards, but it's more just that she says this often when she asks these questions. It's more that it would just be smart for them to tell her. It would be a good PR move. If they're not lying, if there's nothing to hide, they're doing horrible PR right now. And it would be so much better if they just came out with everything and tried to help. That's the main thrust of the argument, is you're dumb for not answering these questions. Just like Andrew Wilson was dumb for coming here without having read any of the court filings or studied any of the actual evidence to have any informed opinions.
About Andrew Colbert, his position is he's a spokesperson for Turning Point USA. So when the crowd turns against Turning Point USA on the basis of a lack of information or because there has been, seeds sown of distrust, I would imagine, and forget answering my questions because it doesn't need to be made.
Aren't you sowing a lot of those seeds of distrust?
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job themselves, if I'm being honest. You can blame it on Candace all you want.
Well,
people love to do that.
The thing's funny
people
is
act like I'm ground zero. I think I'm ground zero of people not trusting Turning Point USA.
I think that there was some PR there. I think there was some PR there. Sure, they could.
Let's remember too, Candace avoided any going at TPUSA and Erica for months. And a lot of her fans hated her for it. A lot of us were like, what's going on, Candace? A lot of people were way more in on TPUSA and Erica Kirk for months. And Candace did not touch it for a long time.
Done better. Absolutely. I'm not disputing any of that. One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or
this is the second time asking
murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here. Everything I've said is on my...
All of the shills tried to pretend that this was some gotcha. That's not a gotcha. To avoid getting sued by this, front organization for the Zionist lobby that has threatened to sue already, that has already sent out legal letters, cease and desists. That's duh. This question was clocked from like 2 weeks ago, that this was actually his goal, was that TPUSA was actually just sending people in to try to get people, prominent podcasters, especially Candace, to, say something legally not good in the heat of a debate. I don't know if that's actually Andrew's goal right now, but it kind of looks like it. And certainly this question was clocked for quite some time as being kind of the main thrust of what's probably coming at her.
Podcast. I think firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all.
So she quickly thinks of a
at this space
legally safe way to say.
Okay, what does that mean? Does that mean that you do?
We all know what that means, Andrew. You're just not smart enough, and you didn't get the answer you wanted. You want to try to, get her to say it the right way. Good luck.
Think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that was never even considered, that like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack, as just one example. They gave back the backpack. They gave back the...
that doesn't show a conspiracy.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a second.
They ruled them out as suspects.
That quickly, I'm...
You can see it in his face, his tone of voice. It's starting to get a little less poised.
Not comfortable with that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's a $100 million incentive. This is...
$100 million incentive.
What I'm saying is his organization, like it had grown to, I think it was 100
plus per year.
Yeah, per year, if that's something you want to
but what was the...
Your team wants to play video.
That number doesn't cut it. 100 million plus per year of revenue from TPUSA. That is not even approaching the value to the Zionist cause. It is incalculable. If you think about the Epstein network being Israel's asset, loosely speaking, there's no amount of money that you could pay to set that back up. That is one moment in time with one specific, central person that was capable of building it. That is like, you can't rebuild that. You cannot replace it. These things are singular, and they are, I mean, I already went in on this for a long time. These intelligence agency operations that build these organizations and companies and networks and criminal rings and stuff, those are just, there's no dollar value on that. It is irreplaceable. Way more than $100 million of value to Israel and their cause, to be clear.
If you don't mind, there's a video they want to play of Candace said it's impossible to not believe. Your team wants to play video.
And here's where his team starts interrupting him with videos.
If you don't mind, there's a video they want to play of Candace said
he's always very happy to just talk about what he's talking about and just watch it.
And so right now their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence, and then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found.
And this is the face of a man who is finding out what he's going to be talking about next, I think, my opinion. And this is the look of a woman that is starting to get bored.
So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, yes, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it? That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because what?
Those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his...
She'd be complicit in being the dumbest fucking wife on planet Earth. She'd be complicit in like, oh my God, I wish I hadn't married her. If my wife someday, if I get offed in some weird way like this, if I get offed in any way, if I die of natural causes and my future wife is not in any way suspicious, not looking into anything, if my wife is just like, I believe whatever the police say happened, I am crawling out of my grave and walking back up to her front door to serve her divorce papers. Dumb. Okay? Charlie deserved a wife that was a little more aware of how the world works than those actions portray. But again, they tried to do the gotcha on Candace, and she just said it's impossible not to believe that Erica's involved, and it's true. Straight up to the text message that he tried to share at the beginning that directly contradicted what Erica said very definitively about Charlie's text messages in the days before he was murdered. Directly flipping his stance on all sorts of things in TPUSA. Undoing the Doge audit. No more audits, no need. Flipping back to Zionism all the way. Shabbat Shalom. Daddy's home.
I didn't say implicit in death. You added those two words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes. So sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence.
Okay, well, tell
coming
me,
into
what's
the
that
debate, so
mean?
you're
What's
chopping it up.
complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I
And there's another element that she doesn't quite like say out loud, I don't think. She keeps saying sort of complicit in trying to sow this narrative of Tyler Robinson's guilt. But implicit in that is if you're trying to sow the narrative of Tyler Robinson's guilt without being certain of it, especially when you're the wife who should be the most motivated to be certain of it, you are actively participating in the cover-up. And if you have any evidence to suggest that you should be questioning it and you still try to sow that narrative of his guilt, then you are very much complicit in the cover-up. And being complicit in the cover-up is not all that different than being complicit in the crime, because you're helping out the same people to achieve the same ends. And then we have to start to wonder, why? Is it really because you're just dumb and naive and have no idea how the world works and are just getting led along and you're innocent of all of it? And you have no idea what's going on? Or is there more going on? And when you look at Erica's life and lies, people start to feel certain ways about it.
can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she is asked, "Are you, do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this?" And she says, "I do." Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? I'm like, this is why I did not engage in any Erica.
This part's amazing because it really exposes, so much of this exposes the fact that the central planning behind this Andrew operation, which if you trace it back, traces back to the Con Inc. think tanky kind of space that, TPUSA, Daily Wire, the Louder with Crowder crew, these sorts of studios that are totally independent Republican outlets that are not in any way controlled by the deep state in Israel. Totally not just Zionist mouthpieces with a, paint of America on top. People that live in that environment, that do shows in that environment, I don't think that they can genuinely comprehend of someone doing a show the way Candace does her show, where it's actually just organic, authentic thoughts produced by just her for the most, pretty much entirely just her. She does tend to use a teleprompter for any specific details, but she just riffs the entire time. Her teleprompter scripts are basically empty. I've seen them myself. And so her whole show, all of her body of work is truly hers, and she's an expert at it, and she knows it very well. Whereas Brandon Tatum, I don't think he remembers his shows the way that Candace remembers her shows. So it's just kind of interesting how they thought they could gotcha her with her own clips, but she does the research, does the fact checking. She doesn't just spit random shit out. So she stands by what she said and she remembers what she said, and she just can immediately contextualize it and make Andrew look like a retard because he has no idea where that clip is from. He didn't pick it. He didn't pull it. It's not relevant to what he was saying. It's literally just a pre-farmed clip that they already had prepared in the background, and they noticed that Andrew was slowing down and wasn't saying anything intelligent, so they just dropped a new clip in. Is what it looked like.
Everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here.
But it actually just gives Candace another opportunity to demonstrate her subject matter expertise and her lived experience in the case, doing real journalism.
Because, I don't know, just it feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. That's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. And again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk.
In what? Yeah.
Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I could tell you that. But my point being is that then you take a look at this and you go, okay, well, this is weird. Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this stuff publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all this is on my show. So out of context clips, it's not going to work because I know what I say on my show. Okay. So we call her lawyer, and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me. And it's me, her, and Justin Strife. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have anything? He says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says, no. So I'm going back in my head and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty, she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way. I remember even Megyn Kelly was like, let's wait. She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have.
I did too. I thought that she was quietly working behind the scenes to collect evidence. Any woman deserving of Charlie Kirk, they should have been fucking trying to solve the case just like Candace from day one. And I remember back at that exact time, before we knew who Erica was and what was going on here, we had very little info to point to Tyler Robinson. Very, very, very blurry images, trash ass video, and a lot of holes in the story, a lot of weird coincidences. By definitely way, way, way more than enough that I would expect my wife to have some fucking questions. Yeah. F- wife material based on her whole handling of the situation.
Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, we don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved. They may
I
arrest.
don't understand. How would any of this make her complicit in what?
Well, I've already told you. She's complicit in trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut.
Yeah, good point, Candace. She could have at least been neutral. I'm just saying that I hope that my future wife is like, F this shit. It's a conspiracy. Let's go. And then burns it all to the ground and solves the case. That's what's going to happen when I get assassinated. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm fine.
She's trying to fool the public into this. If she believes
Like,
it,
I also don't have a wife that's
that
based.
Tyler Robinson killed Kirk. If she
Still working on
believes
it.
that, how would that be complicit in anything?
I do.
Are you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss.
Now there's weird ticks coming out. Notice his head twitches.
She's complicit in trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut.
How's she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes
Like,
it,
don't look
if she
anywhere
believes
else.
that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
I do.
Are you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss. That's what she believes. No, but that's
They get more
Right,
frequent.
but so when you just say complicit, you just mean she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk? That's it?
Again,
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make
No
it seem like
strategy. You
she
can
was
explain
complicit.
everything.
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing? Like why?
Because we don't have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing? You probably don't want to watch.
I'm going to go back to my theory that
because we don't have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing. And like, do you see how pathetic that vibe is? Let me try to get it one more time. Because it's like, it's easy to miss it in that context because he's been kind of like building closer and closer and closer to it over time. But when it's juxtaposed against like a normal, calm delivery to camera,
like why?
I'm going to try to
have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing? You probably don't want to watch.
I'm going to go back.
because we don't like have infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing, and you like don't want to watch. You see how like defensive that is? How like, yeah, like, eh? The poised way to do that, Andrew, would just be like, well, we just don't have all the time in the world, so we clipped them. But we didn't intend to do anything, nefarious about it. So I'm sorry if it feels that way. Plenty of not defensive ways to, respond to that one.
Back to my theory that you didn't feel confident that you could defend your claim that it was overwhelming evidence. So now you're trying to move towards doctored clips and getting.
Well, there's no doctor in anything. I'm just making sure that we got this right.
Yeah.
That what you're actually saying
I
is
do
that
believe
Erica is just
was-
complicit in bleeding.
when I re-examined her actions backward, because I did not have this perspective of her at the beginning, which is why it's so funny to me that you guys make it seem like I'm ground zero. People thought Erica was sus from day I forgive him, and I was not a part of that. I did not lean into that. I did not contribute to that. I was getting
I was flabbergasted when I found out that Candace was not suspicious of Erica yet. I was like, bro, what? I mean, it's one, I understand that you're not talking about it, but like you're not suspicious of it. It's like, what? And I remember at the time I was looking to Candace for how I should feel about Erica because I knew that Candace would have way more of an inside scoop, some sort of inside. I assumed from day one that Candace and Erica were in comms because that would be the logical thing for Charlie's wife to do. That would be the by far most logical thing for Charlie's wife to do is get in touch with the extremely powerful media figure that is basically built their career on sort of like investigating conspiracies and figuring out what's going on, who cares about Charlie, who wants to make sure we have this right and just make sure we have it right. That would have been an extremely powerful ally for Erica to have had she truly been just like some floundering, lonely widow with no idea what had just happened. And then we found out that Candace had not spoken to her. She had Charlie's phone. And she, anyways, you know the rest.
terrible messages from my fans being like, Candace, you and Charlie always say to go with your intuition. You won't address this, how we all feel about her. Things changed for me when I saw that Zoom call. I would tell you that for sure. And the fact that she lied to me. So I sat across from her and, I wanted to have that conversation publicly, but they're probably grateful they didn't do it publicly. She told me.
They're wishing this conversation wasn't public right now.
The next thing that happens naturally when somebody lies to you, you go, when any person lies to you, whether it's a toddler, people only lie when they're trying to obscure something else.
Have you addressed what that lie was?
Yeah, I've talked about, we have a list of lies that we've been told about you. We can find that.
In the meeting with her.
Well, no, I didn't want her to cage up. I didn't want to do this, and because I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know if she was going to be like, I'm so overwhelmed with everything, and I don't know who to trust the organization.
And her fans gave her shit for not going hard on her then and going soft even though I think Candace's strategy was right.
Organization, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I didn't want to.
Just out of curiosity, before anything happened with Charlie, how close were you and Erica?
Not very close.
So there's not a relationship.
No, I would say it's totally normal. Like, it's not like there was any issues at all. We were always nice to each other. It just is our life went to a different phase, right? So Charlie and I hitting the ground, running around, traveling 4 days a week. Now I get married. I find love of my life. I get married and I get pregnant. I haven't stopped being pregnant. And what you want out of life changes. You don't want to be running around.
She's currently like 8 months pregnant or something. Let's just remember that.
Week and traveling on a plane nonstop. You suddenly want to start building at home and live. Like, I was desiring that suburban life.
Did you guys ever do the double dates? You, George, her, and Charlie? Was there ever double dates between the four?
Oh, I was engaged to George quickly. We were planning our wedding. I was kind of in my bubble with George. George traveled with me and Charlie, but Erica and him were just starting to date at the beginning of 2019. George and I were planning our marriage. So George really got to know Charlie. I wouldn't say that I really got to know Erica. I was just rooting for them because I knew how much Charlie wanted to, find love. And so I was kind of his wing woman throughout that phase. And I was just happy. And I never was under the impression, obviously, that they were going to get married when they were dating. So it wasn't like I was conscious. I really need to get to know this person. And so it was just kind of normal that by that time, because of where I was in my life, that I wasn't spending any time getting to know Erica per se.
So the complicit part about Erica to you, is that a gut feeling? Do you think
Again, Andrew's on the couch right now, just chilling, just waiting, biding his time, counting the minutes until he can get the fuck out of here.
Formed when she lied.
You can take the lead. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, I don't. I actually don't. I still don't understand what do you think she's complicit in?
Yeah. So when I say.
And goes right back to the say, like, how do you not understand yet?
Erica's complicit, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband, would you like to explain?
It's not really an ad hominem. It is kind of relevant, right? Like, it's kind of relevant. It's not really an ad hominem. He tweeted that, and it's relevant to talking about Erica Kirk. It's kind of, it's not good faith debate, but it's kind of a banger move.
Explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded?
Yeah, sure. So I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew?
And he just did it. He just said it. You guys should see the clip of Sneeko's stream. Sneeko was watching live. And live, while this was happening, before Andrew said that, right before Candace says that, and Sneeko just comes up to Mike and says, he's going to say all women are retarded. And then he leans back and Andrew Wilson says, I really just think all women are retarded. And Sneeko was just like, yeah. It was pretty funny. Predictable, man. Very predictable. And you walked right into that one, and it was a bad move. Because if you didn't realize, a huge majority of the people that you're trying to convince of your position here are women.
So
and bonus points. None of them are retarded enough to pay someone $300,000 to get publicly flogged.
By the way, what dramatically transformed your opinion of Erica after going to the headquarters? Because you were pretty hostile about.
I wasn't hostile towards him.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded?
No, come on. That's like normal tongue-in-cheek stuff for me online.
Oh, you're being tongue-in-cheek.
Usually when I call someone retarded,
notice the head twitches.
Like, for instance, boom, you got twitch. Supporters. I mean, if you want to use the same example,
it really just feels like a nervous tick.
Like Owen Benjamin, he called you bad names and called your husband bad names. You're just like, well, it's no big.
Owen Benjamin called everyone bad names. If Owen Benjamin hasn't called you bad names, it's because he doesn't know who you are, or he actually does not like you. Yeah.
I've never answered him on anything that he said. I'm saying that you now are her biggest defender. So do you still think she's
not her biggest defender?
Do you still think she's too retarded?
No. I didn't know Erica Kirk. I'd never met her before.
Okay, but you had an issue with Turning Point being led by a bunch of fembots talking about the feminist angle.
Still do.
And then suddenly you go to the headquarters.
It's a terrible idea.
You go into the headquarters. Now all of a sudden you've got text messages that you're sharing with them. You say that you and your wife are getting involved with management.
No. I'm not involved in any management at Turning Point.
Well, I'm pretty sure.
And he's trying to present it as though he's like, no, I still think women are retarded. I don't fuck those fembots. But like, he's also out on his own platform and on Twitter and stuff, trying to like come after Candace by like white knighting as though it's immoral to say anything bad about Erica Kirk, the widow. She's been through so much, and I have such a big heart for her that like, yeah, that's real. You can go find his videos like that are like trying to paint himself as the high moral ground here. But then in the moment, he thinks that all women are retarded.
There was a clip of you where you say that your wife went to their recent conference and sat down, and then when you were on Joe Rogan.
No. Hang on. I'll explain what happened, just so that you understand.
Yeah.
So I was invited there to do some debate training. That's literally what I was invited there to do, on recommendation. So I went down and did some debate. That's the first time I ever met anybody at TPUSA.
Okay. Then you said you sat down with.
I wonder who gave that recommendation, and I wonder how much cred they just burned with the people that they recommended him to.
Erica.
Well, I didn't sit down to her. I talked to her in a hallway.
So you didn't sit down and speak with Erica?
No, I didn't have like some sit down long conversation. We talked in a hallway.
Okay. Is that when you gave her the hug?
Yeah, gave her the hug right there. My wife did too. We were both very sorry for what happened.
Okay, so at what point did you start receiving text messages from that you cited in your opening statement.
Well, I just reached out to TPUSA and said, I'm prepping for a debate. Is there anything that's pertinent that I can use here?
Do you find it interesting that people have been asking for, basic answers to questions, and you're saying that you walked into their headquarters and reached out and they
It's amazing, isn't it? If you reach out in good faith and you're not demonizing them and saying that they're complicit in the murder of people's deaths, that perhaps they're actually willing to release things to you that are pertinent.
That's what Candace was doing for the first 2 or 3 months. Let me just, audience, do you believe him? Do you think that he just reached out to TPUSA and said, I'm having a debate with Candace Owens, nothing to do with you. And I was just wondering if you had any new evidence that no one's ever seen before. And then they were just like, oh yeah, Erica's got this text message that she used to say it didn't exist, but now it does exist and she's just going to give it to you. Have fun with that.
Other than thinking that, perhaps you're diabolical.
Well, I
don't have the best
feel like if I was
intentions.
going to release that information, I didn't demand that it be released to me.
This is the part where he starts hiding more and more into his hand. So just watch it over the next 30 minutes to an hour. It'll come and go, but it'll get right up in there for a little bit of it like this. And it's pretty funny.
Actually never demanded that it be released. I just simply said that this is what was going on in the last 48 hours. Maybe to the media they could release it. They could release it to PBD.
The foot is getting crazy now too.
Too retarded in June.
So what?
Yeah, I just think it kind of shows that Turning Point is sending you as their horse.
Well, I don't
They
know
just
where
don't
you-
have. They don't have
I
the
don't know
courage
where
to
you-
have the conversation.
I don't
If they
see
were
this.
just releasing something in
Let
good
me ask
faith
you a
to answer your
question. Do you have any
I've never
evidence of that
demanded- It's not evidence. Sharing your opinion
No.
that she's too retarded. I can't share my opinion that I think it's going
Well,
to
I never
register because
mentioned
it's
it.
really obvious to the public that rather than presenting that throughout the course of everybody wanting to know what Charlie was going through his last days, they decided to give it to you to come to my house as some sort of a surprise.
Well-
Do you think
A year later, they decided to give it to him to come to her house as a sort of surprise to try to get her. Gotcha. Even though if Charlie Kirk is sending a text message the day before he dies that he's worried that the left is going to kill him, you don't think they would release that before now? You don't think that would, be relevant to the murder that happened the next day? No. Instead, Erica Kirk is going to go on the record on video and say he was not sending anyone messages in the days before he died about anyone killing him. He was not sending those. They don't exist. Stop it.
the public's not smart enough to
do
see
you
through
think?
that?
Do you think that if
It's
you
talking
know
about terrible
if you
PR.
know that there's a huge debate that's coming out that's going to be probably one of the most viewed that year, and one of the debaters calls you and says, "I'm taking this position. This is the position that I feel like there's the most evidence for." And Candace also agreed to answer many of my questions in regards to this. So if you got pertinent evidence here that I can use, I definitely like take a
But
look.
what is
It
that-
was actually amazing to me. It really was actually amazing to me how if you approach people in good faith and just say, "Hey, I'd actually like to know what the facts and details are around this," they actually do talk to you. It's amazing.
That whole little bit there, all that I'm hearing is what's amazing to me is if you never say anything bad about the administration, they'll invite you to their parties and give you wine and boys, whatever you're into, and maybe drugs, and you'll keep getting invited to the parties and they'll love you and you'll get to keep on coming back to the White House and you'll move up in the world if you just don't say anything bad about the administration ever. It's great. It's called journalism. Right? Benny? That is called access journalism. And I just wonder how much access our boy Andrew actually has behind this smile. Very trustworthy smile I accidentally paused on.
Yeah, I just do not believe that they are doing this in good faith. I don't believe that anything you have done has demonstrated that's in good faith. It demonstrates that you walked into Turning Point USA headquarters and came out a different man because you were critical of the organization. You
Still am.
were critical of Erica, and now you're sitting here going,
Well,
Candace,
first
I
of
want to
all,
interrogate you for
have
an
you
hour
ever
and a half
been,
about
hang
everything
on,
that
have
said
you ever
about
been
Erica.
critical of somebody that you hadn't met and then you meet them and you're less critical of them?
And the inverse has happened too. I was
Yes,
critical
exactly.
about Erica, and now I'm more
But I'm
critical about
asking you,
her.
but I'm asking you, isn't it the
That was a clever comeback right there.
case that there's people you've been critical of, and you've met them, you're less critical after you meet them?
Too retarded. I feel like if you think that she's dumb and let's just talk about your record. I mean, you're a person that has spent time in what most people would term to be the manosphere, talking about feminism. Well, yeah,
I debate against the
Against feminists.
and red pillars.
Okay.
And
Against OnlyFans thoughts.
a lot of the actual. So I'm a Christian ethicist.
and then you go on to Joe Rogan and you're like soft explaining away why Erica had to take over Charlie's company when they don't have a parent at home. So now you're a feminist icon. You just go into the headquarters and you just shift all of your perspectives.
That's a bizarre criticism. Nobody's
That's a very logical criticism.
in the bigger girl boss position than you.
I'm actually no.
You're in the
Candace, I'm pretty sure she wisely decides not to try to hash that point out because it would be silly for her to try to defend herself there. So I'll defend her there. Candace is yes, Candace is a girl boss. She makes lots of money. She has a successful show. Yeah, that defines as girl boss. But in the actual lifestyle that her and her family run, it doesn't really come across that way very much, honestly. She is very much in her feminine energy, in her she's got her house and her space and her kids, and she's constantly pregnant, and she is This is basically a gossip column. This is a very feminine show. This is just like Candace coming on and gossiping about all the news that she's got and all the sources that she got. And she just happens to be particularly good at making her like journalism feel like how women feel when they're doing gossip. And there's usually these bigger stories and all this stuff going on. She's very good at it. But she's really not that girl bossy. She doesn't run her business at all. She has no idea how much money she makes. She has no idea how the finances work. She has no idea how any of that happens because George manages it all. Because there's this whole other apparatus around her. And she is much more like the little princess in her castle that does all the like mom stuff and has this fun show that she goes and just like, talks on a lot. It's really not, she's not as girl bossy as he tries to make her out to be. Honestly, Rachel Wilson comes across as much more of a girl boss. Holy shit. As in, if you imagine spending the day with Candace Owens or with Rachel Wilson, based on their personalities, who do you think is going to give you more peace and calm and relaxation versus nails on chalkboard? But anyways.
Biggest of the girl boss positions, like you don't have to do this. You just do this. You could definitely not do it at all and be fine,
and
right?
Of course, again, to the point being that Erica is abandoning her children to be the CEO of this gigantic fucking company. That's vastly different than the woman that intentionally builds the studio in her own basement so that she can spend her whole day with her kids every day. That's the that's the whatever Andrew says he is his dream, is to not have to go to work, stay home with the kids. And the woman gets to raise the kids and the dad can do all the money stuff and take care of everything. Pretty traditional.
I would say that you are making a comparison that cannot be compared because Erica's husband was just assassinated in front of the world.
Which makes sense. Why should we take the organization?
No, it makes sense why you would go home to your kids, just so you know.
Wait a second. That's bizarre.
They don't have a parent. They don't have a parent and they just suffered a trauma. You don't go into the office.
You want to protect your husband's...
This is how you know that this man does not understand women. It's a distinctly different vibe when like a 40 or 50 year old something. I have no idea how old Andrew is because he just looks really old. It's a distinctly different vibe when a man that old does not understand women at all, especially when he's married to one. Because it's just like you would think if you'd been paying attention to women instead of just calling them retarded the whole time, you might have picked up on some aspects of their nature and of how they feel about the world and what they think and what they're like and what they care about. And you should probably not try to argue this one, Andrew. You should probably move on.
Legacy, right? No. You're trying to find something.
The legacy is his children, not the organization.
It's both.
No.
Yes, it is both. It's totally rational and reasonable to believe that it would be both Turning Point USA, that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. He worked his whole life.
This is why people think she does.
And his children. Now, for you, though, to say that anybody's a girl boss, right? That's like
So, to Andrew's credit, in Charlie's mind, Andrew's probably right. I'd bet that if you would ask Charlie, as if you were to ask most men that have children, they would probably say both. And if they're a good dad, they would probably say their kids are their most important legacy. Fucking better. Or they'd be like, my kids, but like my career matters too. And that's how I would feel. If I had kids right now too, my kids would obviously be my full legacy. My family would be 100% the legacy. And I would give this whole career up in a minute if I had to. And then secondary to that, this career is my legacy and it's fucking cool and I'm very proud of it and it will, grow and change with me my whole life. But no, my career, I would never, even with a really cool, meaningful career like this, Lord Almighty, it would not be more important than your children. But that's the male perspective. That's what maybe Charlie might have thought. But we're talking about what Erica would think, what the female would think. And if you think the female is going to prioritize the business over her children, do you think Andrew calls it a sniz because he's like, not like, does Andrew like, what are you doing? You really don't understand it very well, do you? I'm just kind of curious, like, never mind. I don't want to think about it. I definitely don't want to talk about it.
That came out of your mouth.
No, that was you. You brought up girl boss.
Girl boss came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I'm telling you that you brought up this idea that I'm defending some feminist nonsense. I'm not. I'm pointing out that they're by the way,
she's not qualified to take over his company.
There's always objective outliers to each situation.
This is such a back foot for him to be on. She's just gotten Andrew to sit in this cuck chair and unfortunately be forced to try to defend the perspective that Erica Kirk was qualified to take over as CEO of that company. From his manosphere, all women are retarded perspective, that is now his job, is to defend that. And he walked right into it.
In fact, it's the exception that proves the rule. And the interesting thing here is like, I'm still just as critical of feminism inside of TV USA as I've always been. And I'm just as critical of any pro-Zionist position as I've ever been.
Andrew Wilson is critical of the pro-Zionist positions, just like he's always been, right?
None of that's ever changed. By the way, I would think it's the most rational, reasonable thing on planet Earth to do if you wanted to actually see an organization change, to try to work with leadership or reach out to leadership to try to do so. Doesn't that make the most amount of sense?
I would like to state for the record that I think Erica is underqualified to run the organization. Sure. And on the more emotional aspects, I agree with what seems to be a majority opinion, because I'm not gonna say it's scientific, that any woman that would leave her kids and go right into the office after their husband was publicly assassinated does not have their priorities straight.
Okay, well, I understand that you can have those criticisms, but I'm not understanding still how that would make her complicit.
I don't understand how you don't have those criticisms, Andrew. You look like a hypocrite.
I don't have to keep answering the same question.
Okay,
So
let's
let's
look at that laugh.
Understanding still how that would
Look at
make
this
her
laugh.
complicit.
I don't have
Look at this.
to keep.
Look at that. Oh man.
I understand that you can have those criticisms,
Look at this.
but I'm not understanding still how that would make her complicit.
I don't have to keep answering the same question.
Okay,
So
let's-
let's
Your team is asking. Your team is asking to play a clip. So if we want to play
This is his team rescuing him.
this clip to just finish this segment on the Erica Kirk topic, we can spend some time on that as well. So if you guys are ready in the back, we're ready.
And causing that 30-06 diameter, as would happen with a pet and explosives, as we've demonstrated to you in the past, it accidentally, because of how Charlie was crouched, went up and hit his neck. And that ruined everything. It ruined everything. It was problematic. It's the reason why Terrell then had to scramble to get the cameras down, because they were never supposed to see it. They could have said reasonably that a 30-06 got eaten by Charlie, much more reasonably, obviously, than saying that the chicken bones in his neck stopped it because he ate vegetables. They panicked. That's why Terrell's nervous on the phone with me. Again, this is my theory, and I am now very much sticking to it. Okay. They panicked. It's the reason Erica had to step out. That's why she would have gotten on the phone with Terrell so quickly, because I was going, why is Terrell saying, well, I didn't want Erica to relive, oh, that's why I did it. He didn't have an answer. He was nervous. It was crazy. But he acknowledged it. He spoke to Erica immediately. Why did you speak to Erica immediately?
Again, this is a really old clip. If Andrew had a competent, command of the facts and the information in the case, he could have just asked her about the exploding microphone theory himself and much more effectively ferreted out what she does believe and doesn't, and had her much more on the spot to make claims and assertions and have to talk through the evidence. Way more effective strategy for Andrew to actually tease these points out himself and then maybe play the clip as the gotcha once she accidentally, stumbles. But then again, that would require you to know anything about the exploding microphone theory and to be able to competently hold your own against Candace about it. So instead, it's a clip.
Do you believe that there was a shape charge that killed Charlie?
Hey, can I ask you why you keep starting clips mid-sentence?
Probably to get to where the clip is.
No, it doesn't seem that way, because you can always start a clip at the beginning of a sentence. Like you're just it's completely out of context.
I think it was, who was it that pointed this out? I think it was Destiny. I was watching Destiny respond to this because it was just an interesting neutral perspective. I think it was because he was talking about it as a debater. And Destiny is very much a debater. Pointing out that Candace is doing a really good job of this debate tactic where when you get the upper hand, as long as you have the upper hand like this, and your opponent starts to use non-information based approaches like semantics and trying to get lost in the weeds of fallacies and like debate how debates work and philosophy and all this shit, to just point out what they're doing. Just point out their bro. So you are just totally distracting, changing the topic. You're presenting all these clips that seem to start in the middle of a sentence. It's very effective. The audience immediately resonates with it, and it makes him look like an idiot.
Wait, I didn't prepare the clips. I didn't.
And the fact that he just said that he didn't prepare the clips. Yeah, bro. Problem. When I prepare a TV show, when I prepare one of my shows, I prepare the clips. You know what happens when I don't prepare the clips? I don't know what they are. And so when they come on the screen, my brain is disorganized and I have to have the same expression as Andrew of trying to figure out what the clip is so I can respond to it. And it doesn't work. That's why I do all my own shows. I do all my own prep. I do all my own research, because if someone else is going to prepare it all for me, I can't speak off the top about it. I don't have the thesis we're putting together. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to look like Brandon Tatum. And there's nothing wrong with your buddies preparing your clips. But if you were the master debater you claim yourself to be, and you were coming in here with full knowledge of what's going on, and you had command of the subject matter, you'd think that you would have known the clips you wanted and you would have picked them. That's just my thought. Maybe I just, am more diligent than you in the way I prepare for things, but that's what I would have done.
But it's fine to ask them to back it
Like
up.
I said, I don't need to say what's happening here because the internet will clock it. But in this episode, we are now going, and that's why I said we're now going to look at some alternative theories. I made it very clear that this was a theory that I didn't want to look at. This is, I believe, because I don't have every episode on my head, but I'm pretty sure this is an episode where we presented the evidence that was in the car, the photos of what was in the car, right? And so we are now inferring off of what we see in the car that this very much does look like that we see a bunch of shattered Rode microphone, which was an early theory that I was actually interested in, but couldn't really wrap my head around what was the shape charge explosive. As I said at the beginning of the episode, it was just not my expertise. And I was concerning myself with timelines and stories and statements that didn't make sense. Without question, Terrell Farnsworth is someone who made me think that we were missing a big part of the story. So I'm walking them through John Bray's theory. If we started to insert.
And the problem is with this strategy of Andrew and his team is that Andrew, they prepare these gotcha clips to try to get her. But the problem is that Andrew does not have a command of the vast amount of information that you got to have in order to be able to debate this woman on her own turf about her own fucking show. And so inherently they play the clip, and Candace only has to say like a sentence and a half to have walked far enough away from the substance of the clip that Andrew no longer knows where they are. And that they are now in uncharted territory where Andrew has no context, and it's her show and her life and her lived experiences. And so he's fucked. He can't say a damn thing because he has no idea what where she's at by now. He doesn't know the context of what she's talking about, and it's her life. So good luck being righter than her. So it's kind of funny to watch the whole strategy just backfire so dramatically with the clips.
What we are actually observing with the evidence that we're taking a look at and what took place that day. So we're completely in the hypothetical right here. And you're now introducing this.
If that's the case, if you're just hypothetically exploring it,
and
that's why I'm just asking directly.
Yes, but that's obvious.
No, because if you'd picked the clip yourself, you would never have picked the clip, and you wouldn't then give up on it right away because, if it's just hypothetical, then I don't even care about it. It's not even relevant. I'm just asking questions. Then why'd you prepare the clip, Andrew? Oh, wait, you didn't prepare the clip because this is not your debate. This is something else, a whole other thing.
When you watch this episode. So that's why it feels like I'm in the middle of an interview with CNN when they pull up random clips and they're what's this? You watch the episode,
I'm just trying to make sure. Do you think that your alternative theory?
I think John Bray's theory should be explored. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Charlie Kirk was killed with an explosive?
I think that is a possibility. Yes.
Okay.
And it should be explored. He's done a lot of work on it. John Bray has done good work, and I think that's why that theory is now starting to gain steam since we released the second set of the photos of what was in the car. I think it's viable.
So this was the big thing I wanted to get into with you on the explosives too. Mm-hmm. What is it about that theory that's actually compelling to you? So I looked into the explosive mic theory multiple times, and the biggest thing that stood out to me is there's no explosion.
Then I'm not sure you looked into shape charges.
There's literally no explosion. This part gets crazy. There's videos when the shot rings out that kills Charlie. At least it sounds like a shot to me. People are actually looking up towards where the gun is being fired. They're looking away.
So one of the first things that actually got people started talking about the exploding mic theory is the apparent gas that releases out of his shirt in the first few frames of the video. And that got a lot of people going on. And it took a lot of time before people, I was not down with the exploding microphone theory until I had John Bray explaining how shape charges work. And then I started to do more research. And then I was like, oh, that makes sense. But he's going to circle back to the shirt movement and air displacement and stuff, and we'll do more of a detail
for where the sound is. Where's the actual explosion?
Well, for every person that you say looks away, there's going to be a person that was looking forward. We have former Marines that have gotten on and said, it looks to me like there's an explosion under his shirt, right? You obviously saw Rob O'Neill go on to, I'm forgetting which platform it was, where he said, it's the first thing I thought was...
Rob O'Neill is the man that killed Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, and I think he's qualified to say what he believes he saw. We should actually, since they're pulling clips, we should run that clip of Rob O'Neill and what he said and what he observed in his experience. Yeah. So I'm going to take that. And also there were people who immediately spoke to the media that day who said the same thing, that they thought that something happened under his shirt. That was actually, if you go back to like my first episode, when I was just observing what I saw with my eyes, I was asking the serious question. I was seriously saying, why is it like somebody shot him from underneath? Why is his shirt moving first? That doesn't make sense to me. And
very important piece of context that not enough people are still keyed into and saying clearly and directly. And we're not allowed to show the video anymore, so it's kind of getting lost. Don't know for sure if the video is 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second, because those are the two standard video formats that iPhones will shoot in. But the video, the clearer video, one of the clearest videos of the shot that happens where you see the shirt do this. Sorry, I guess in my camera, it's this side to this is what we see. The movement of his shirt from here down by his microphone up to this position where it very literally, it's like you took a pinch and you grabbed that pinch and you pulled it up by his neck all the way up to here. That happens in 2 frames of the video. Before all this like, boosh, before the blood in the hole appear over here, before any of that, the first thing that happens in that video is like 1 frame, this is going like this, and then like 2nd frame, it's like, and then 3rd frame, this is like already up here. Sorry, 2nd frame, this gets up here. And then 3rd frame, you start to get like the, and you get the gas coming out. And yeah, 2 frames. So what that means, A, that the shirt moved from down here up towards the wound, which we'll talk about in a minute. And secondly, 2 frames is 1/30th of a second, if that is at 1/60th. And if it's filmed in 30 frames per second, then it's 1/15th of a second. That is the longest that it could have taken. 1/15th of a second for the shirt to get from here to all the way up here, moving towards the wound, not away from it. And it happened before the wound appeared and before anything else happened. So just to remind us all what the shirt did.
I'm
That's
not
because of air dispersal from the bullet. So when
He's about to describe it as being that's because of air dispersal from the bullet. Yeah, whatever, bud. Throwing giant rocks into water. Let's do a basic physics lesson, Andrew.
Ready? Yeah.
2,
Let's swing.
oh,
Swing. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
holy fuck.
All right. So this is the ripple, the force ripple moving out through the water. I want you to find the ripple that is moving from the outside inwards towards the center point where the rock hit the water.
Okay. I hope
Where's the ripples coming from the outside inwards, Andrew? Okay. Pretty basic physics that if we're talking air dispersal, which doesn't happen when a bullet flies by, but certainly on impact, there is a force shock wave. And the way that all shock waves works are just like the way that a shock wave in water works when you drop a rock into it. Sometimes the medium is air, sometimes the medium is water, sometimes it's mixed medium of the body and the rest of it all. But shock waves obviously always move outwards from the center point. So if there's a impact up here and there's a shock wave moving out from that, please explain to me how the shirt did this up to the actual, like from down here to the wound in 1/15th of a second at the fastest before the wound even appeared. That's not how shock waves work. That's not how air disbursement from the bullet works. If you send a bunch of air at my chest, we all know that my shirt will go whoosh outwards, away from the point of impact. Duh. And this is an easy claim that a lot of people, like a lot of the Andrews of this world, the shills, like to make because they know that we can't play the video on YouTube anymore. X is the only place where you can play that video. And so inherently, I wind up having to describe it like I just did rather than showing you the actual video of that shirt just running up there in the exact wrong direction. So, sorry, but physics says no.
Whenever a bullet is shot, a projectile shot, you can actually run this experiment yourself if you have a rifle. Take like an empty box of ammunition and put it on the table and then fire it near the muzzle. And that box will actually blow off the table.
Okay, so
It don't. It doesn't. I'm pretty sure it was Barron that shared a video. I don't know where the video is. There was a great video of people testing kind of Mythbuster style of shooting bullets past lots of little things like balloons and like paper standing up and stuff that would be easy to knock over. And like there is basically zero wind along the path of a bullet. On impact, certainly there's a
Question for you. Does that box go sideways off the table?
It can.
It can.
Yeah, it can. It depends on the dispersal.
You 3,000 pounds of energy or 2,000 pounds of energy coming at you. That's how much it carries.
Most 2,000 pounds of energy.
Well, we can fact check that.
Yeah, it's about 2,000 foot-pounds of energy. Yes. That's what all the AIs calculate. They're probably capable of it. It's a lot.
How many pounds of energy is it? A 30-6.
One of the more interesting questions to ask the AIs, we'll just ask Brave AI, is how many foot-pounds of energy are required to break human skin? As in the rest of his neck that's containing all of this force that's dumping. Because if the bullet's traveling at, this entry speed, hits his neck, and then stops in his neck, then by definition, all of the force that the bullet carried is now inside of his neck, spreading outwards like a shockwave. So his skin out here is all, and the tissues and flesh and bones is going to have to absorb all of it. This is a thing that has been studied. It takes about 1 to 2 foot-pounds of energy to break through human skin. That 30-06 bullet was traveling, probably carrying about 2,000 foot-pounds of energy that all would have been dumped into his neck. So, yeah. Comparison to skull penetration. This is significantly less than the 33 foot-pounds generally required to penetrate a human skull, highlighting the difference in tissue, density, and structural resistance. And it's obviously not a one-to-one. It's not like if you, I guess maybe it is. Maybe if you fire a bullet at 33 foot-pounds of energy, which is like impossibly slow, you can't fire a bullet that slow, maybe it would penetrate the skull. I don't know. But just, let me zoom in on it for you in case you needed some help there.
Being shot 150 yards away. That's a great question for Grok. I'm going to say when we looked at it, it was between 1,500 and 2,000. I'm pretty sure pounds of energy coming at you, and you just go.
Sometimes the calculations go as high as 2,200
upward and to the side. I don't really buy that. I'm going to just say I just think that's not possible.
There's actually, this is an interesting, completely kind of irrelevant debunk. From Mythbusters, of all places. I love Mythbusters. I want to do like a whole episode about Mythbusters someday. They're just funny. But Mythbusters actually tested that idea that if you get shot by a bullet, you like fall backwards or fly backwards. It's not, it doesn't actually happen. The energy that enters into a body when it gets hit by a bullet disperses into the body, but it does not like send you flying unless like it's a 50 cal or something like that. They shot their dummies and all sorts of different things with bullets and like clearly demonstrated that like none of these things are like moving backwards. They also shot cowboy hats off of cowboy heads, and the same thing when you like perch a cowboy hat on top of a cowboy head and you shoot through the top of the hat with no head involved, so it just goes through the hat. It just goes through and through. It doesn't like throw the hat anywhere. That's not actually how the terminal ballistics of bullets hitting things works. Dude, check out that hair though, dude. Shit, maybe we should just do the rest of the show like this. So yeah, it was like, I don't know, it was like an hour ago when I did my last break that I realized that we'd made the mistake of committing to basically deciding to make like a 10-hour YouTube video about this whole thing. And that was when I decided that we're just going to make it like it's a live stream that I'm just doing alone right now. And then I'll put it out for all of you as a live stream. That's kind of the vibe we're on. We're just hanging out and chatting. And I know you guys miss the live streams and I miss the live streams, and I'm sorry we can't do them right now. But this is a good substitute for today.
Go through on top of that, so it's another miracle. You didn't get blown backwards. It didn't get through. But I also want to say that you're saying this can happen, and Rob O'Neill is infinitely more qualified, I think, to speak on that.
Yes,
because he's actually shot and killed people.
Why would that have anything to do with anything?
Because
did he slow down all the videos of the people he shot to see if their clothes moved?
Well, why are you able to start your business?
Andrew doesn't seem to slow down the videos to see how the clothes move either, because then he would understand that that's not how physics works, and that's a really dumb argument.
Because I'm gonna tell you how projectiles work. He's not even gonna I guarantee you this guy's not gonna disagree with what I'm about to say. If it is
That is a bold thing to say about Rob O'Neill, but go ahead.
the case that you have energy and you have mass, and the mass is moving in the air has to go somewhere. It doesn't have a choice.
I think you're totally BSing right now, Van.
Oh, such a good call out, because it's exactly what's happening. It's like, I know Rob O'Neill would agree with me on this one. I'm going to just say some random bullshit about physics. Hey, Andrew, here's some random bullshit about physics. Skin takes 1 to 2 foot-pounds of energy to break. And he just explicitly made the point with that physics garbledy-gook that he said. We'll play it again. He was making the point that when a bullet flies through the air with a bunch of energy, that energy all has to go somewhere. And it goes into whatever it impacts, namely the neck surrounded by the skin that ain't super strong.
Not only am I not BSing, I'm telling you that it doesn't have a choice.
I think you're
and you have mass. I guarantee you this guy's not going to disagree with what I'm about to say. If it is the case that you have energy and you have mass, and the mass is moving in the air has to go somewhere.
Oh, sorry. He was making a different point. The air has to go somewhere. Yeah, no shit, bro.
It doesn't have a choice.
I think you're totally BSing right now, Van.
Not only am I not BSing, I'm telling you the truth. If a bullet is moving in air has to move out of the way of bullet.
But maybe not at the bottom of a shirt.
Not BSing, I'm telling you the truth. If a bullet is moving in air has to move out of the way of bullet.
But maybe not at the bottom of a shirt here. I don't know. I disagree with that. I'd like to say, for the record, I've watched some of you do these sorts of things where you assert something with a lot of confidence, and
You can fact check it. Fact check if bullets displace air.
Not about whether it displaces air. It's
Yeah, Andrew, I fact checked it. Bullets displace air the same way that bullets displace water, rocks displace water, shockwaves move outwards from the point of impact, obviously. And so if the point of impact is here, then there's zero reason in the whole physical world why the shirt would do this, right? That's not how that works. It would hit here and the shockwave would move out from that point. It's not complicated. You look like an idiot.
where is disperse the air? Underneath his shirt here.
It's not underneath the shirt.
Well, it's this big, and you're telling me it's going to hit his neck.
Candace,
And then
it's not underneath the shirt.
The shirt cuff.
And yes, it is underneath the shirt. What she's referring to is the gas that you can see come up out from the top of his shirt.
It's up here and the collar's moving, and then you see the wave here as he's moving backwards.
No.
Yeah.
That's not
it's
true.
Not.
And we obviously can't show that clip. I disagree with you.
Okay, I understand you can't show it for TOS purposes.
Exactly. I disagree with you. People can go watch and make up their own minds. We don't need to debate it. Whether or not it was the first thing I said was, why is his shirt moving first? That didn't make sense to me. It almost looks just like this. It goes across. His necklace breaks first before Charlie even reacts. If you watch it in slow, his necklace breaks first, which I thought was very odd. And then you see a puff here, and the next thing you know, there's the entry wound on his neck. I would not confidently assert.
Yeah, you kind of do. It's not a lot. It's definitely not what you would expect from an explosion. But again, we pretend like governments and intelligence agencies and organized crime like syndicates aren't capable of like inventing complex explosive devices, smokeless explosives. You know that bullets used to all smoke like fucking crazy back in the day before they invented like the smokeless powder technology that they use in them today, so they don't like black powder does. It's like people do innovate, believe it or not. Especially, those one people that like to blow people up.
That I see smoke. I've never said it on my
Do you
platform.
think that an explosion generally has smoke?
I don't think that there's any
Totally misleading angle. Explosion, he's trying to imply like what the layman thinks of an explosion, and a shape charge is vastly different.
quality version of video that would get us to be able to answer that question other than Terrell's 4K footage that he has from the front. So
There's a lot of, if you look at the Israeli pagers, it's assumed that it's a similar, if not the same type of explosive that was used inside the pagers that would have been used inside of this road mic.
I think
That's totally made up. Why? Who assumed that? You? Not my theory. So it's a funny talking point because no one assumed that, and no one's claiming that they were the same. The explosions from the pagers were vastly different, much larger, and much more just blow everything up. This would be a completely different device with an entirely different mechanism of action and different goal and payload. And who knows? PETN or maybe some other modified situation that doesn't make as much smoke. I have no idea. Not my area of expertise. But I'm not dumb enough to speculate that the Israeli military has run out of creative ways to kill people. That's a losing proposition.
That you should, since you love debating, you should debate someone like John Bray, who's worked on that theory for 11 months, and ask those sorts of questions of how a shape charge would work. I presented the evidence of what was in the car, and I also, at that episode that you're clipping, said John Bray has done an unbelievable amount of work on this, and I think he has debated a ton of people, actually, regarding this topic. So that's the route that I would send you on. For the purpose of my show, I do believe, to answer your question, that it is a hypothetical, that it is a theory that should be thoroughly explored. There's
2 clips your team wants to show. One of them is the Rob O'Neill clip, since we're on it. So if you guys are ready in the back before we go to ad break, if you want to pull it up, this is a good time to do so.
And good to see you, General Holt. A lot of things bothers me about this. Nothing.
So he's the guy that killed Osama bin Laden, and we'll leave the controversy about that claim at the door.
Particular, it's not like I'm out there saying big lie or conspiracy or someone.
Here, let's make it
shooting that killed more than a hand.
Let's make it less controversial. He was on the raid that killed Osama bin Laden, at least. Okay, can we agree on that?
Full of people, and this thing looked shady off the bat. I killed people closer than I saw the camera, and I've never seen a shirt move like that. That looks like an explosion to me. Just the fact that no one started doing first aid to Charlie Kirk, they were more concerned about getting SIM cards out of cameras, removing cameras, and then getting him off the X somehow. There didn't seem a lot of concern for his life. It seemed like just clean it up, and then I've been told they paved it over a couple days later, and then you get Erica Kirk behind all the razzle dazzle, and she's really quick to forgive the alleged shooter, which technically says that was him because I forgive him, but that you can't forgive Candace Owens for having an opinion or asking questions. And they mock people by saying, "Oh, I'm just asking questions." Yeah, I'm a SEAL Team 6 sniper. I'm asking a lot of questions. No one wants to answer them.
And you're able to. He's actually said very little about the explosive there. So he
said he's shot people up close, and he's never seen a shirt move like that, and it looked to him like an explosive. That's what he said.
But when I play that video at full speed, I can't see a shirt moving. I can only see a.
You're fucking blind, Andrew. Yeah, at full speed, you can definitely see the shirt moving. You just can't analyze every single movement about it. But it's just so cute how he tries to like come at Rob O'Neill here.
Shirt moving when we slow it way down. So if I'm in real time, I'm just assuming this, right? If I was in real time and I was in like a close quarters combat, you kill somebody situation, and I shot them, would you even see the shirt move?
Well, I just feel like...
Well, Andrew, you don't know because you've not been in those situations. Neither have I. So the best we can go with is Rob O'Neill's experience in this matter. Would you even?
5 minutes ago, you were arguing that it was because the bullet carried air. Now you're saying you don't see the shirt move at all?
Yeah, but that's, if you slow it down, the disbursement of air, that's where you're going to see it, right? It's going to be very quick. Very, 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 very fast.
Yeah, that's not what I saw. And clearly it's not what he saw. And he thinks that there could be explosives. So I'm just saying to you, people disagree with you. Your opinion's not a fact. That's all.
I understand.
I think that's a good place for us to, if we have another break, and then we can keep answering.
This little part right here, dude. She dog walks him so hard. Oh my God. Let me just rewind and just watch what little masculinity is left on the right side of the room. Just like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Yeah, that's not what I saw. And clearly it's not what he saw. And he thinks that there could be explosives. So I'm just saying to you, people disagree with you. Your opinion's not a fact. That's all.
I understand.
I think that's a good place for us to, if we have another break, and then we can keep answering your questions.
Yeah, I think, yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. We'll do a quick 3.5.
She's like, yeah, you're retarded. That's a horrible point. But whatever, your opinion's not a fact. If you want, we can take a break now, and then we can come back and keep answering your stupid questions. How's that sound? He's like, yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
An ad break. We'll be back for the last segment.
Cool.
All right,
Okay, we're gonna skip the ad break and keep moving.
What's the notes that covered a CAC 1K or IRA and suddenly got hit with a tax bill that you didn't expect, and even when 10 and I have a dental reason taste fuel.com.
All right, fantastic. So Andrew, if you want to go with your last couple thoughts.
Yeah, so I just have two more clips to play.
Okay.
Right, and then we can do final thoughts. I'm guessing.
Through this last section, pay attention to Andrew's desire to leave the room. It becomes more and more and more obvious that Andrew is ready to end this fucking debate and get out of there as soon as possible as this goes on. He's already not far. He's already thinking about that closing statement right now. He's like, oh my God, just get through that closing statement and get out of here. And I'm done with this. But it's still a long ways off.
I feel like we got
There's a lot of humiliation between here and there.
So
let's say that.
The two other clips, I do want to play the Twigs clip. That one is important to me, the Twigs DNA clip.
Yeah.
And they're going to pull it up just to have you respond to it.
Well, you don't have to play it because like if you're saying that when I initially watched it, I thought that Lance Twigs' DNA, like he was directly responding to that because the testimony was a bit confusing. They started by saying that they were going to like explaining how they got the samples, and they said Lance, Matt, and Amber Robinson, how they got their DNA samples, and then they started speaking about the gun and said, multiple prints were found on them. And then they moved and they said Lance Twiggs's DNA was found on the screwdriver. When I went back and rewatched it, I realized, well, they haven't officially said that Lance or Amber are on the gun. So I think I've already conceded that we don't know that. So I think, like, but if you want
Well,
to
no, this is directly you saying it is on the gun. Twiggs'
I'm
DNA
saying,
is on
I
the
feel
gun.
like I've already said to you, like I've made that concession. But just to be clear, whenever I make a mistake, I just correct it. So that's why when you were asking me 3 times, I've already said.
And he's still trying to like drag out like, no, but I wanted to play a gotcha clip. I prepared this gotcha clip. And she's like, yeah, I've already corrected the record on that one. I was wrong. Next. And he's like, but my gotcha clip.
We don't know yet. And I corrected that mistake. So if the purpose of you showing this is to demonstrate that Candace makes mistakes sometimes when she's taking a lot of information and she's reading through legal documents and she's trying to remember
No, it's not actually.
testimony.
It's to demonstrate something else. It is, in fact, the case. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to make mistakes.
And I've already
in the case.
I've already
You're going to make
conceded.
mistakes in the case.
Yeah.
But in this case, you were very adamant that his DNA was on the gun itself.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that it's not ruled out. We know there's 5+ prints. I've said this so many times. I had to rewatch the testimony again. It's like 9 hours a day. It got very scientific when they were speaking about this. And I think I wrongly extrapolated that they meant all 3 of them were on the prints when the only person they officially named was Matt Robinson. So we don't know yet if Lance Twiggs.
And basically everybody that's reported on that preliminary hearing got at least 1 or 2 facts objectively wrong from within one or the other portions of especially the DNA and the fingerprints, complex stuff in there. All of the Fed slop shills, either naively or possibly intentionally, totally got things wrong that were very clearly stated in the testimony in there. I got stuff wrong. Candace got stuff wrong. It was very complicated, extremely lengthy. That's the way it goes.
has his DNA on the prints, DNA on the gun officially just yet.
Okay.
I've already conceded that.
Sure.
So
That's fine. And then the last one is one with Erica Kirk.
Sure. This is like the Erica Kirk. All right,
Well,
Erica, you couldn't sit down with me, Erica. We can do it this way.
This goes back to a previous claim that you made.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think that I think Candace will point it out in a minute, but it's like 5 out of the 6 clips they wind up playing are basically trying to defend Erica. She points this out more later, and then on X she pointed it out.
Straight to jail for questioning at least Erica. I don't care who's mad. I really do not care who wants to be upset after this episode. Really, you'll be wasting your breath. You can spend $1 billion on influencers because this is all becoming increasingly inexplicable. You are asking me to be an idiot, actually, and I cannot do that for you. Someone once commented beneath this show that if the situations were reversed and there were this many verifiable lies.
So straight to jail?
Yeah, so that's the show intro, and straight to jail is Monopoly.
That was the weirdest clip ever. Did a human review this? Was this all clipped by AI with no human review? It ended, and I thought that it was like they accidentally ended it early. Straight to jail? Really? You're going to say straight to jail? Are you retarded?
Okay.
Like, you know,
So do not pass go.
Yeah.
Do not collect $200.
Yes, it's
Yeah, you know part of the idiom that you can finish the sentence for her because we all know the idiom.
obviously tongue in cheek, and then I explained that actually I think that she should be brought in for questioning because of inconsistencies. So this is the exact episode when I started to think that she should be sat down and questioned. And I still believe that. I still hold the perspective that Erica should be sat down and she should be properly questioned.
Do you know that she hasn't been?
No, actually, that would be a great thing for the spokesperson of Turning Point USA to say that she's already sat through.
Why do they?
I mean, my guess would be she hasn't because they returned everything to her.
Yeah.
But
Why do they owe you that though? Why do
they don't owe me anything. That's my show you're watching. Just, you know, the clips that you're pulling from my show. So if I want to say something on my show, I can say that. I didn't say they owe me something. I don't think that's ever.
You
unless you
can't,
have
but
another
if you
clip.
say like you need to be sat down for questioning and you don't even know if they haven't been.
Okay.
That's strange, right?
Oh my gosh, the audacity. Oh, Andrew, you should take whatever giant stick is inside of your a-hole and pull it out. And then, like, you know, go deal with it, get cleaned up. But how do you know she hasn't already been? Ian, how do you know that Andrew has a giant stick up his ass? Here's the secret. I don't. But I'm allowed to make fun of him for it anyways. Because who cares? Oh, the audacity. The audacity that you would say that Erica Kirk should be sat down and questioned.
Do you know if they have been?
No, I have no idea.
So you're just saying, what if they haven't been?
Yeah, if your
just
entire
filling the air
if your
with
entire thing is
junk.
if you're no, it's not.
Just filling the air with junk. Yes. Yeah. Candace calling out the junk for what it is pretty funny.
Junk. If the query is why is it that Erica Kirk's not being sat down for questioning, but you have absolutely no knowledge whether or not she's been sat down for questioning or not, what that does is it creates an innuendo. It creates an inference. It creates out to the ethos that this should be happening because something's wrong here when you actually don't have the knowledge that anything's wrong at all.
I just think that my opinion is that she should.
We got a lot of knowledge that something's wrong. Something's very wrong with Erica. And we all got the knowledge. And if you want to live outside of knowledge over in pay to play politics or wherever you're at, you can do that. That's up to you.
Be sat down and questioned.
But you're not sure if she hasn't been.
Yeah, and you're not sure if she has been either. So, like I said, I feel like now you're just kind of filling the
Well,
air
to
with
my knowledge,
because turning points. Like, we want
to my
make
knowledge,
sure that you go in there and you defend Erica. And I have to say, I don't think you've done an extraordinary job
Great,
of that.
but I'm not here to defend Erica. The thing is, though, is like
4 out of 5 of the clips that you had on the ready when we asked you guys ahead of time. I mean, I want to just assert how professionally we have dealt with this debate. As you can see, we have not planned any gotcha clips for Andrew. I expressed to him that what we were going to do was just to use people for fact checks, and because I might not.
There's not a pickle jar in sight. Not even olives, though there very well could have been. There's nothing. There's only the one little tiny little piece about his wife. There is a lot of untrodden ground that Candace did not touch.
Remember something, or I do remember something, and you're saying no, and that is what I think will register to people as very fair. We did not take out of context clips of Andrew to try to
explicitly said that I was going to bring claims.
We did not. No, when you said you were going to bring claims that you want me to speak to, you didn't say I intend on sitting you down with out of contexted clips to which we said to you before in an email. Any clips you want to share with us, send it over. Let's assert a debate claim so that we can both be ready to respond to it. This just
that's not really what happened.
Well, what's not? What didn't
yeah, this the way that you're framing the exchange. That's not actually what happened. We were negotiated. It is true. We negotiated out the claim itself, right? Which one's going to take which position. I wanted to make sure that I had at least an hour and a half on mine, and you got the time for yours to question me. We did. We got through your hour and a half on mine, roughly an hour and a half now on mine. That's basically how this went.
But in the beginning, I did not take an hour and a half to just pull out of context lists with Andrew. I actually debated the substance of what's going on in this trial and this hearing. And I do think that you fell short of that.
There's nothing out of, hang on. There's nothing here except holding you to account for your claims.
Yes or no. Well, we were supposed to be debating the case and whether or not there was overwhelming evidence.
These are your claims about the case.
No, you then admitted that now you're getting into another sphere and you want to talk about the transcendentals and things that I said. And like 4 out of 5 of your clips are about Erica Kirk. So the general perception is your turning points horse.
Actually,
quite a few of them were. Was there 3?
Just made it up.
Or 4?
So you're just making stuff up?
Can we get a count of how many were about Erica? I feel like
it was 3.
3. Okay.
Yeah,
3. I said 4.
But those are extraordinary claims, which is why you're asking.
Okay. Well, right? Okay. But the point being is now you're veering into trying to get.
If you can't tell, I'm very empathic, which is a great thing to be sometimes. Right now, it's making me feel very awkward for this poor man. That's just like, oh, don't say that, bro. Do not say that. Oh my God, that's the dumbest. Do not walk into that trap.
Me to defend my opinions, and then you completely shirk responsibility when I point out yours. No, they're not claims. When
no,
you
they're claims.
We're too retarded. You go, that's just whatever, and then you move on.
Claim, and I'm responsible for the claim.
Well, earlier when I brought it up, you said that it was tongue in cheek.
Yes, sure. That's me responding to your criticism of the claim. That's all I'm doing here.
I was interested, and
I'm happy to get into also the Patsy stuff now if you would like to.
Well, that has one more clip. They want to play 7 days.
That is such a random, like his brain is breaking, and so he just like, oh, emergency the exit. I'm happy to get into the Patsy stuff now if you want to. What? The Patsy stuff is the whole hour and a half that you're supposed to be grilling her on right now. We're like most of the way through the Patsy stuff, and it's your job to grill her on it. What are you talking about, bro? And then his team saves him with another clip. And they get Patrick Bet David to interrupt him to be like, shut the fuck up, Andrew.
We got one
clip. We're getting into Patsy stuff, and you stopped it, and I was explaining to you. Oh, they have one more clip. Okay, let's go.
They want to hit the.
Oh my God, this part. This is the part. Oh my God, this is the part. Amidst all of this awkwardness, this magical moment of cinema. We'll never get another one like this. I'm not going to say anything during it. We're just going to enjoy it in all of its glory.
4 clips you were saying with Erica, so
100%.
This is absurd.
Okay. And this is the one you were saying from 7 days ago. Okay. While they're looking for that, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I mean, can I ask a question? I know it's been, or like, can I ask a question? Or are we
not really? I'm just gonna. Okay. We're going to hold to the actual contract itself.
The contract does not say that you are allowed to just question me without me being able to respond to you.
I've never said you can
have a conversation.
You've been able to respond to every question I've asked you. And by the way, the other thing is like
let's have it your way. I want it to look like we've done everything Andrew wanted to, so that people can fairly assess the situation. So you have it your way. I will not ask a question.
Totally fair with me.
So are you good with her asking a question, or
he said no?
Waiting for the clip.
Okay, so you want to wait for the clip first. Okay. You guys have it in the back.
We're just waiting for the.
Okay, beautiful.
Dude. Oh my God. I'm so glad Candace didn't break the silence here because it's just so good, dude. Oh my God. I'm like literally crying. And I've already seen this clip like 3 times. They literally go through the craziest awkward silence in like debate history. Clearly spurred on by Andrew's flummoxing discombobulation, and his team is trying to save him, but they don't actually have a clip ready, even though they're trying to save him with a clip that they should have ready. So they go silent to bring in the clip. And that gets really awkward. And so then Candace is like, "Man, I'll save it. I'll ask a question." And then they kind of go back and forth for a second. And Andrew's like, "No, you can't ask a question. We're going to do this by the contract, and we're going to wait for the clip." And then they just go right back into the awkward silence because what? So, having been in this experience before, kind of, I'll tell you what's going on here. When you're in a podcast environment and one of these awkward moments where like media that's supposed to be ready isn't ready yet, a good podcaster jumps in and starts talking to fill the space while we're waiting. Because a good podcaster has knowledge in their brain relevant to the exact topic we're on right now that can help bridge the gap between the moment of silence and the clip. And they know where the clip is coming in. And so they can just jump in and improvise a little bit and make it, not so awkward. And this is a moment where we're on Andrew's questioning time and we're in his wheelhouse and this floor is his. His team has just interrupted to share the clip. And now we're just hanging. And Andrew has nothing in his brain to fill the space. He just freezes like a dead deer. Sorry, like a baby deer or like a retarded deer or something. Like a female deer, Andrew? And he just freezes and has nothing to give. And then they have this weird little awkward exchange fight about, can I ask a question? And he's like, no, we're going to do this by the book. And he still has nothing in his brain to fill the space with.
Your team told me they had it. So
that's what I heard. Okay.
Come on, guys.
Did this crime. Okay. Because Lance Twiggs has his DNA on the towel. It's fine. Lance Twiggs has his.
So what Candace just said to Patrick Bet David is that her earpiece was a little fucked up. They're quite quiet and sometimes they get brokeny. So she just assided to Patrick Bet David and said, I can't hear any of the audio. My thing is messing up, but I know what the clip says. So just tell me when it's over. I'm pretty sure that's what she just said.
DNA on the rifle. And to be clear, Lance Twiggs' DNA was not as degraded as Tyler Robinson's DNA was on Tyler's rifle. It's Tyler's rifle.
No, you also said it's not as degraded on the rifle.
Yeah, because I thought he was one of the things, but I've already, that's what I mean when I say.
So, one more time, let's watch Andrew's response at the end of this clip as he thinks through the great point he's going to make, and then he makes it.
Rifle.
No, you also said, it's not as degraded on the rifle.
Yeah, because I thought he was one of the things, but I've already, that's what I mean when I say that, like, it just seems like you're not actually here trying to engage, because even before you got to this, and I knew that you had some secret clip planned, I said to you, when I rewatched the testimony, I realized they didn't explicitly say Lance Twiggs, they said 5.
So, that whole moment of silence for Andrew's career that just happened, that was all for a clip that was not relevant in any way and didn't add anything to the conversation. And once Andrew watched the whole clip, he immediately realized that he had nowhere to go with it because Candace had already clearly addressed it. And that's pretty awkward. Not just because of how awkward that is, but because of what it says about his team, strategy, and thought process going into this, which Candace is pointing out right now.
Other profiles were on it, and that his was the most degraded. So I hope your team feels fulfilled in playing that. Is there any more? I'm happy to play every clip.
And let's just remember that they told PBD they had a clip when they didn't have one yet. And then that's what they wound up producing like 45 seconds later. So you tell me if to you that feels like they were trying to save Andrew from himself or not. Who knows? Who knows? And whatever you do while you're thinking, do not speculate, because that is very evil, we've learned.
That he has on the ready. Anybody?
You said you had some new evidence at the beginning of the.
Oh yeah, we should show that text message that you read, just because I think that's important for the public. You shared it out of context.
I'll do it on my show. I'll share the.
So you're going to read it on my show, but not show it.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'll show it on my show, but that's what I'll do. I'll show it on my.
Can I ask?
So you can see how he thinks he's being so clever. He's like, I'm doing what you do, Candace. Ha ha ha. But it actually just comes across as like, really, bro? Like, okay, that's not the W you think it is, but I'm also not sure he's actually shared it on a show yet.
Well, because I want to drip out the evidence. It's got to drip out that evidence, keep people coming back for the show, right?
I don't know if snark serves you so well.
I'm just saying, like, I'll release it there. Yeah, that's my intention. But yeah, I'm fine with closings if you want to do closings.
Well, I also would.
See, he's really ready to do closings. Can we do closings? Because Candace is about to tear his asshole. Sorry, that's a little. Sorry, let's just forget that sentence. Derek, don't cut it out. But we'll just leave it in, and then collectively, all of us will just pretend it never happened. Candace is about to, let's say, create an internet memory for all of us. Yeah, Candace is about to create an internet memory for all of us to keep and cherish for a long time, for a good long time.
Just if I may ask a question, is that permitted?
Go ahead.
Just so I also have clarity, since your basis has been evidentiary, you keep saying that you have evidence or like you are following evidence. Which one of the charges against, or all of them, do you think Tyler Robinson is guilty of?
So I'm sure you've seen this before. I posted a clipped down version that was just tightened up with all the extra stuff taken out on X, and it's like at 5 or 6 million views or something. It's going everywhere. This clip is super, super viral right now for good reason. I'm sure you've seen a version of it. If you haven't seen the full version yet, or if you're watching it again, which is, worth your time, pay attention to the body language throughout, especially from Andrew, especially his face. Yeah.
The specific charge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
and the subtleties of like the tactics that are happening here, because Andrew's not dumb and he can pick up what's coming. So she asks him for, which charges do you think he's guilty of? Sorry. And he goes around in his head and thinks, fuck. If we're going to start getting into this, I don't know what charges there are. So I'm going to here's my out.
think is that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but of the
And I'm just speculating here, but the way that looked and sounded to me, it sounded like an attempt to, please don't notice that I'm not saying a charge. I'm saying an action, an event. Please don't notice. I don't want to go any further into this.
7 charges that he's being charged.
Yeah, can we list them real quick? I'll tell you exactly which ones. We'll pull them up.
And then we'll pull him up. And he ends that sentence by saying, we'll pull him up. And it's almost like he like leans, he's like, we'll pull him up. And I'm already over here. So don't even ask me any questions because we're going to pull him up. And I'm already out here ready to pull it up, bro. We're like pulling it up because I don't fucking know what they are. That's kind of how it comes across.
Well, do you know any of the charges he's up for right now?
Yeah, of course. But I want to make sure
name
that we
one?
have them listed.
Yeah, but like can you name one? Because my general perspective is that you don't actually care about this case. You're not following the case.
That's the
Yeah.
question. You're
Yeah,
just
so
not
but-
following it enough.
That is a terrified smile and laugh and trying to cover up all the emotions going on in there because he knows he is trapped now. He knows what's
Seems
going
pretty
on.
like if you're going to engage, you're going to say the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson is guilty. I just think that you should.
All right.
Can you tell me one
Then let's do the
charge?
counter.
That he's,
You can really, no, this is a great gotcha.
no. You just got to ask.
And notice how he said, this is a great gotcha because he recognized what's going on. And, kind of a gotcha on Candace's part. But also, you're going to pay $300,000 to debate Candace Owens, the world's foremost expert journalist in this field. And you're not going to prepare for your debate at all? You're not even going to read the most basic documentation and court filings to do with it? You're not going to know the charges? Or basically anything else in detail? That's dumb. That is so dumb. That's so dumb that aside from it showing that you don't know much about the case, it shows that you are just dumb. And so whatever you know things about, I now have questions about because that's really dumb of you to do. And you're about to pay the price for it in 4K.
Me play clips out of context,
Yeah.
be in the hot seat. So
And this is him realizing that he can't escape now.
please just answer the
This is
question.
fair.
Can
Name
you?
And he even speaks, he literally talked to himself. This is fair. Yes, this is fair. We're going to go through with this.
all
Name-
7 since
can-
you've been following the case.
Okay, sure.
And he, oh my God, he digs the hole deeper because he can't even, he doesn't think Candace knows anything. He can't even imagine Candace actually just, everything that she just came out of her mouth was literally just because she knows it all. So he asked her to do all 7. And that was a huge mistake, Andrew. You did not need to dig your hole deeper because it's embarrassing enough that he can't name one, but he has now asked her to name all 7.
Go ahead.
You name one.
Yeah, you named all 7.
I'm happy to do that, but can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now name all 7.
He doesn't even.
And look at how fast he abandoned that because he had no idea. If he had any idea when he gave his answer and she said, that's not right, he would have at least, been like, what do you mean? No, it is. Yes, it is. No, I believe that it is. He obviously did not believe it because he immediately conceded it to a woman, no less, who, by the way, he thinks is retarded. So he's already ready. Okay, fine. I don't know. You name all seven. Name all seven. Name all seven. Name all seven. Name all seven.
This is like
Name all seven.
And I
Can you name all seven?
I can't
Then do it.
Sure, you don't have to
Do it. No, do it. I'll count them. Go ahead.
You don't have to put your fingers up.
And here she does exactly what she did throughout her entire this whole series, this whole time, where she baited him in by presenting it as though, yeah, I'll do all seven, but he's not sure he has it in her. Yeah, Charlie Kirk was changing his opinion on Israel, and I stand by that, but hasn't released any evidence yet. And she sits on it, waiting for them to all lie about it so she can then drop the real evidence, right? And once they've all lied on it and made themselves look like idiot, bam, receipts. She's about to do that to Andrew Wilson. Although he's already dug his own grave 7 fucking, answers deep here. She kind of has no problem slow rolling him in, acting like she's not super confident, just to show off how much of an asshole he's being. And you can tell he thinks that he's got her for a minute.
Hang on, name them.
Yeah, sure.
Name
'em. The first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries
Okay,
the death sentence.
so
in the
murder.
state of No, that is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so just for people, I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on. And just to explain to people the difference of why that really matters and shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly defined
Just
and because
avoiding
it
the
carries
question.
a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay,
You're just going to recognize that your strategy
No, she's just thoroughly ending your career. That's what she's
people are
doing.
intimidated when you try to put a time constraint doesn't work, and you'll be better the next time you do.
I got it. Give me the other ones.
The more you cut me off, the longer I'll take. Do you want to just wait for me to finish of why that's a big difference so that
No, I
people
just
don't walk
want you
away?
to list the charges.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You just don't get to pretend there's a time constraint for me to do that.
Well, how long does it take you to list 7 charges?
Because I'm speaking. You just got
It
to.
sounds like you're just delaying it because you don't know them.
I know all 7 of them,
Then
and I'm
tell
going to
me
say again because you're going to get embarrassed.
He's looking all smug over there in his chair. He thinks that he's successfully gotcha. No, you're actually just making yourself look like more and more of a dumbass, rude, kind of sad little man.
You don't have to rush this. I'm also showing an example of a very flawed debate strategy. I actually
well,
have no
one.
time constraint.
I got one.
Great. The second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering. And the
List
final,
the specific charges, though.
that is them. Obstruction of justice,
Both of
obstruction
those.
of justice, witness tampering.
And the fact that he didn't know that not only indicates that he doesn't have them memorized, but it also indicates that he never even really read them in a way that even began to remotely stick them into his brain. Because when you're like familiar with a fact, but it kind of fades. Like, you were doing all the research, but there's just so much to remember that you don't really like remember the name of the road that Tyler Robinson lived on. But then someone says it or you see it written out and you're like, oh yeah, that was the name of the road that Tyler Robinson lived on. I remember now. But when presented with, 2 of the titles of the charges that are the actual exact verbatim charges that are in the reports, he did not recognize them and thought, oh, maybe there's like more there. Like what are the specific charges? You're just generalizing. I think I've got you. No, you just don't even recognize the charges at all, even when she's already said them for you. Like, it's so much worse than him not knowing one, not having them memorized. It's even worse than that. He does not know the difference between murder and aggravated murder. And he also apparently has never really been even at all familiar with at least those 4 charges that she just listed.
Okay, wait, and there's no other specifics to them.
Well, I can tell you why he's being charged.
No, just the charges and then 7?
Yeah.
I could hold your hand if you want.
See, the bad thing is when you try to be an a-hole and it doesn't work.
What's the 7th?
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
Okay, got it. So then he's being charged with murder. You just say aggravated murder. That's the distinction? You just want to...
It's a massive
Got
difference.
it.
You can't
Oh my God. How many different examples could we come up with that are just kind of similar? Like, dude, it's like, my car is all-wheel drive. Oh, cool. So it's 4-wheel drive? Well, no, not really. It's all-wheel drive. Yeah, so 4-wheel drive, right? 4-wheels drive? No, not really. That's not how it works. And it's not the same. Right? Oh, man.
you cannot
Massive.
say murder versus aggravated
Massive
murder.
distinction.
This gets to the entire crux of why him being up for the death sentence. And I actually find the defense's filing about why this is not aggravated to be very compelling of why.
Candace made a great point on Twitter just like an hour or 2 ago. The fact that he doesn't know the difference between murder and aggravated murder and doesn't know this whole piece of it As well as some of the other little details that kind of come out of this report that the defense just released like 2 days ago. It was their motion of why they should dismiss the case right now. It looks like Andrew didn't even read it. And full disclosure, I didn't read it because I didn't want to. Because this case is not my life. I'm not trying to report on it all the time. I'm not trying to follow every single fucking detail right now. I do follow quite a bit, and I do try to keep track of the big pieces. And I did watch several of the analysis of it, but I didn't read the whole report myself because I didn't want to. And I'm not trying to make content on that topic right now. And I'm also not paying $300,000 for a debate that I'm getting my ass kicked in. But based on Andrew's lack of knowledge of these very central topics to that document, it would seem to indicate that he did not even read the most recent, most important file, like the defense's most recent filing that they literally just put out 2 days ago that was all about those topics. And he doesn't seem to be familiar with them. So it's like, did you actually read any of it?
Aggravated murder action that the state was going to even try to pull this off. They should have charged him with just murder. And then I do also, again, want to stress to audiences that debate strategy of thinking that you have to speak faster or somebody puts your hand up and they try to pretend like it's some sport. I think he thinks it's a blood sport. It's not. It's about being right and being principled when you're engaging. And you can make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but at least be genuine in pretending that you care about this case enough to know one of the 7 charges that are up against Tyler Robinson when you say the evidence is overwhelming that he's guilty. If you would like to move to final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you.
And then the fact that she then just totally alphas him, like she alphas him so many times throughout this where she just like takes over the schedule and is like, yeah, you're retarded. And let me just finish this whole part because it's dumb and we're not getting anywhere. If you want, we can move on to the next section now, Andy. But then her team, and so this was misunderstood by some. It might have been Barron that misheard this and kind of misinterpreted this, if I remember correctly. No shade at all. Just that if you listen carefully here, Patrick Bet David says to Candace that your team has pulled this up. So it is Candace's team that wanted to pull this up. It was not Andrew Wilson's team that wanted to pull this up thinking that they were going to fact check her. It was Candace's team that was like, dude, she nailed all 7. Pull that up. We want to show that she got it right.
Final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you about. If you guys want to pull that up just to confirm the 7 you went through. Can you guys zoom in a little bit?
Aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, which is counts 3 and 4, 5 and 6, tampering with a witness, and count 7,
violent
I said offense in the presence of a minor.
Yeah. So 5,
So 7 for 7.
6, tampering witness, 3rd-degree felony. Now I didn't.
And he briefly starts to read into it, like, and then quickly realizes that he can't read that fast and doesn't know anything about it, what's in front of him. And she is like, fuck, let's pivot.
Notice something. I just was curious.
And then he digs his hole deeper.
It's about, if I'm just wondering, when you pulled out your phone just before you asked that question, did somebody by chance text you that question?
You can check my phone.
I'm just curious.
No, you can absolutely not. I have not had one communication with a single person, not even my producers who are in there this whole time we were here. You want to check my phone?
It's really not that complicated to memorize 7 charges. It's not like she memorizes things. Like she just works the case and has it all in her bones because she's so in the material. That's why it's in there. Andrew Wilson apparently cannot imagine that, a woman would remember 7 things.
How do you do it? Because you're just going to get double embarrassed. Where's my phone?
You want to see it?
I'm just curious.
You can literally do that. Here you go. PBD, you're the moderator. Take it.
Let's see
See
it.
if anyone was texted.
It's a public castration.
At all
This
during
is
space.
the most emasculating thing
About
I've
the
ever
violent
seen.
charges or anything.
I'm looking through this. You give me permission.
You
so
have
I'm
full-
gonna-
It's so dumb,
The
dude.
last one has nothing to
This
do
was-
with it. It's just a compliment.
Completely
I didn't
avoidable.
pretty much just-
It's a compliment.
He's reading them.
You're okay. You'll give me permission. I'm just going to read 3 of them, 1132, because after that, I don't need to read it.
And also point out that this is the behavior of a woman that has nothing to hide because she doesn't. She's right with God. She loves her life. She believes in herself. Do you think Andrew would hand his phone to someone and be like, look through everything in there? I don't mind.
Any other text? Could have been Telegram. Could have been.
And then he digs the hole deeper. He was not content with inventing some crazy conspiracy theory about her text messages and how she must have gotten a tip. Maybe it's a Telegram message. How do you know? Yeah, Andrew, who is cooking up wild conspiracy theories with no evidence now?
I have a Signal. You can check that too. I only have Signal. Telegram I used in Russia. And that was a download
I'll
for Russia.
take your word for it.
Yeah. I don't need to I
Okay.
deeply care about this case. I don't need to
I
pretend
get
to
it.
know
If you
stuff
deeply
that I
care
don't
about
know.
the case, I just, I have my other question is about
I have, if you know my bail. Let me change the fucking subject right now. Don't worry, Andrew. We all noticed.
steakhouse receipt.
You just said that you were done asking all your
So,
questions.
you know, nothing there.
There. I don't-
Yeah, do you have the steakhouse receipts? My question.
I have said several times that I have never said
They're really interested in the steakhouse receipt. Maybe because it makes the entire timeline impossible. It basically debunks the entire narrative if it's true. And it seems like it might be. And it's definitely dangerously provable if there is a receipt with Tyler's name on it. I'm not sure there is one with Tyler's name on it. There might be.
that I have the receipt for the steakhouse. I have said the person who's working on that story is going to be forthcoming with the receipt. And that was what I was responding to. And he then drops the receipt. He redacted elements of it. And I said, stay tuned. He's the one working on that story.
That's Diligent Tennyson. He's a great guy. I've met him in person. I don't know him extensively, but in all my experience, he's a great dude. Very neutral. Cares. I am curious how that whole story plays out.
Okay, so you
never-
haven't actually confirmed that Robinson was at that steakhouse.
All I did, as I said earlier in this conversation, was I spoke to the owner when I broke that story. I think it was back in January. I spoke to the owner, understood what had happened, and that there was a receipt. That's it. That's the extent of what I shared is what happened.
Okay, so to be clear, there's no receipt. You
No,
don't-
I just said the opposite. I said there.
To be clear, I'm retarded and I should really stop asking questions and get out of here. But instead, I'm going to just misinterpret her words in front of all of us for, a few minutes real quick. For good.
you don't have a copy of the receipt.
The receipt was published online.
Yeah, right, with blurred
The
out.
person working on this story that blurred that out is what I was referring to when I said stay tuned and keep following his stuff, because he went to go do what I hadn't done, which was he interviewed the actual server.
So there's no evidence that Tyler was at that steakhouse?
I would say the receipt with his debit card number, it would be some hard evidence if that
I agree with that,
Yeah,
but-
so that's it. But you're questioning me.
But is there, as of right now,
He paid, if you're asking me, did he pay with a credit or debit card? The answer is yes.
no. Is there proof that that was actually his debit card that he paid with?
I think you should follow the person that is behind that story.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is because you always include it in your timeline that he traveled to the steakhouse.
Yeah, we've been building a timeline with things that we feel are
But is there any actual
Utah
evidence?
1102 approved. I think speaking to the owner, knowing that there's a receipt, seeing the receipt,
This guy obviously has no idea how journalism works at all. You realize that most of the news stories you read, Andrew, are based on journalists speaking to sources? And then if the owner of a business tells you a thing that happened at his business, that's a fact from that owner, and he's your source. And as a journalist, you can publish that. It wouldn't hurt to corroborate it with a few others, like she did with servers and even a physical receipt. But so there's no evidence that Tyler Robinson. No, actually, the evidence is that the owner told me that he was. And then they looked and pulled the receipt.
is good enough to put on our timeline.
But the receipt itself, the question I always had about it is, couldn't you just call the merchant? Like if I've ever had a merchant account, I just call the merchant account processor and say, what's the name on this?
Yeah, I would stay tuned. I feel that having spoken to the owner, that the evidence is compelling enough to put onto my personal timeline of what took place on that day. That's where it's going to stay. And if it gets debunked, I'm happy to take it off. If that's what you mean, that's how an investigation works. Like I said, I did more than enough. It would definitely pass the test by the Utah 1102 rule, for sure, for certain.
To be submitted as hearsay.
Well, yeah, beyond that, because they didn't even have receipts. They were like, Bob told me this.
But the question is,
Actually, depending on what you think of this court, it's not exactly hearsay because she heard it directly from the person that witnessed it. And then she saw physical evidence in the receipt. So it's a little different, actually.
the receipt itself, it has not been verified to have been Tyler.
Yeah, I just want to say you're holding me to a higher standard than you are.
I'm not even holding you. I'm just asking specifically.
Yeah, I've been very forthcoming. I told exactly what happened. I spoke to the owner. I got the tip. And
So should that be
chased it
added in
down.
an official timeline that
It's
you
in
get?
my timeline.
This is really like, he's like, but should you put it on like the calendar? Is it morally okay to put it on the calendar? So like, I understand that it's your diary, but like, is it morally right to say something mean about Erica Kirk inside of your diary? Like, really? Is that right? Like, let me talk more.
It's my show, and we can add and subtract what we want, and we do. If
You
we get
can do what
something
you
wrong,
want, sure, but
Well,
I'm
I just wanted
asking,
to make sure.
should you include a thing that you know hasn't actually been verified to be Tyler Robbins?
Yes, you should if we're trying to build a timeline.
It's been verified more than a huge proportion of the journalism that gets published on mainstream news. A huge proportion of the things that have come out of Andrew Wilson's mouth today have less confirmation of what she's talking about.
You should, yeah.
You don't think that falls
Then you
under...
should remove it if someone somehow debunks it. But I think that there is very strong evidence that is where he was, and that
What's the
is,
strong evidence? Just the two people who said that they saw him?
you know, I'm actually
Yeah, just the multiple eyewitnesses with the credit card receipt. That's more evidence than that Tyler Robinson was on the roof of the Losi Center, where there are no eyewitnesses, no clear video, and no receipt.
all good with being. I feel like I've sufficiently answered your question about how I got
All
the
right, fair
information, what happens next, with the next stage of this investigation being somebody accessing knowing what his debit card was and confirming it. Yes, and I do believe that will happen. If it does not happen and it gets debunked, I'll remove it from my personal timeline that I share on my show.
That officer, the first officer that was up on the roof.
Mhm.
Do you remember his name?
Officer Bagley,
Yeah, what was his first name?
Christopher.
Like, stop asking her questions. You're just giving her the opportunity to own you, to just show us that she knows the whole case inside and out. Christopher. I didn't know Bagley's first name off the top of my head. Would not have known that. I knew Bagley, though. Could have easily answered that one.
Christopher. When Christopher got up on the roof, you talk a lot about how his camera died.
Well, he talked a lot about that during
Yeah,
the
about his
preliminary
camera
hearing. Yeah.
Do you think that he planted that screwdriver up there?
No.
No? Who do you think planted it?
If we're just going on am I allowed to have an opinion?
Of course.
At this stage, I would say that I don't buy his assertion on the stand that he didn't check to see if anybody went onto the rooftop before he got up there. I do think that it's possible. It's at least plausible that the screwdriver was planted. I don't believe him. What I can say strongly is that his cam died at just the right time. His body cam died at just the right time. I think that, as you were just grilling me about whether or not I had got the merchant receipt for a debit card, that kind of makes it difficult that we just have to sort of trust that a screwdriver was found and we don't have any should-be evidence of a police body cam. But like I said, you accept that stuff and then are like, did you call the merchant and get, like, it just seems like.
Yeah, good point. I thought it was interesting that Candace didn't go into talking about the plainclothes police officer with, what was it, like the red shirt and hat, the hat guy that was the one that went up there, that she talked about him on the show and she named him and everything. I'm kind of surprised that she didn't like name him again and go deeper into it there, or at least just, skim it right now. Curious if she's updating that theory or information about him, or if it just wasn't worth to go into the details there.
No, I'm not adding.
Hold,
I'm
like
not
I said,
adding
you
this
hold
to
the
the.
prosecution to
Wait a second.
a higher standard.
I'm not
Maybe to
adding
people.
unconfirmed evidence to an official timeline that I'm putting out either.
What do you mean official timeline?
Wait, what is this word salad, dude?
This is my.
this is
I made it at home.
So then it would be official to your show.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. So then your official timeline, Candace Owens' official timeline,
Yeah.
includes a steakhouse stop
Mhm.
that has not actually been confirmed at all.
Well, yeah, it hasn't even been discussed by the prosecutor.
It's been confirmed more than the vast majority of the official timeline of what Tyler Robinson did. We have no eyewitnesses to him being anywhere the whole time. No one saw him anywhere. And in fact, some people saw bald dudes with 3 other homies driving his car around, apparently. So it's yeah, it's a weird closing angle, and it almost feels like he's out of time. It's all over. He just absolutely flamed himself in the most embarrassing way possible, and he's very aware of how bad that felt and looked. He felt it all over, and so he decides he's going to crash out the last minutes of this debate by just spamming nonsense objections to the Panguitch receipt, which is very suspicious. And Diligent was right to point this out and to be like, maybe we should dig into this receipt more.
So it's not like you're debunking that it happened.
Well, there's no evidence for it. There's no good evidence for it at all. There's no camera there. And the steakhouse receipt itself has never been confirmed to be Tyler.
Why is he so defensive about this receipt that has multiple eyewitnesses and an actual physical paper receipt? That's like a really weird hill to die on. In this weird defensive, I mean, look at his face. Look at his face. It's really weird. There's so many more relevant things that we could be talking about right now.
Tyler Robinson's.
I'm assuming this is just like a talking point they gave you, and you got to keep pushing this, or like.
I've been following it very closely on X.
The receipt you weren't even following the charges of Tyler Robinson, but you really wanted to know. I've been following it
do you
very
think that
closely on
because
X.
wait,
I'm calling owners of steakhouses and having a conversation. You're following.
Yeah, I literally follow.
Yes, she just pointed that out, and she is right. She is doing the legwork. Being a journalist, same as Diligent Denizen. Actually, like, Diligent is driving across the country and like doing boots on the ground and shit. Not Andrew. No, not Andrew. He scrolls X sometimes, though.
Well, the entire trial or the preliminary live, I was live with an attorney. We covered all of it. You think because I have a momentary or lapse where I'm like, oh, it's murder? No, it's aggravated murder. Come on.
He like tripled down on murder and aggravated murder being the same thing. He didn't even recognize the other charges and decided to question them when she had already told them to him by name. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Didn't know any of the
That's
charges.
splitting
You
hairs.
That's not splitting. It means you didn't follow the preliminary hearing at all.
No, it doesn't
Like,
mean
you
that
don't
at
know
all.
any of the
That's
charges that are
ridiculous.
against him when this is like getting literally to the crux of aggravated murder versus murder.
It's ridiculous.
sentence.
And not only that, let's point this out. One of the major things here is that this is your official timeline.
Mine.
Yes. Who else is going to be? Who else?
This is not as strong of an argument as he thinks it is. Like, oh man, I just want you guys to know, I love you all. And I know that most of you have already left the video. I have been desperately fighting the urge to just skip to the end ever since we got through the really bad part. And a lot of it before, because we don't need to watch all this. Honestly, the only reason why we made this video full length, why we're responding to all of it, is just so we can hang out and talk shit. And because I didn't want to take the time to like pick clips, because I don't know. They're all crazy. But at this point, I really am with you that it's like, we don't really need the rest of this video, right? But we've come this far, and I'm like, okay, we'll react to the whole thing. We're almost there. It's not going to be a full 15 more minutes.
It would be Candace.
What's your issue? What's your issue with that?
Well, so the issue is that the entirety of the evidence revolves around two people who claim that he was there and supposedly a receipt. There's supposedly a receipt where Tyler Robinson paid for his stay and his soft drink. No alcohol, right? No alcohol, right? You know nothing about the case. But anyway, this particular receipt, they could have called the merchant account, confirmed it, this type of thing. To date, this receipt has only the blurred information on it that would actually give you the information to confirm whose receipt it is. We have to date, nobody has confirmed that this was actually.
So you know what you do with evidence like that, Andrew? You just chill. You just hang out and you read about it and you learn the context of that evidence and who got it and where it came from and what it means and what it all is. And then you put it in the little pile in your brain that says things that might or might not be true that I can decide about later. And then you go about your merry little day. And you don't need to get offended about it. And you don't need to change your tampon over it. You don't need to take Tylenol. You're going to be fine because it's no big deal. There's a lot of evidence in a lot of cases where we're not really 1000% sure that it's true. And a lot of that evidence is in the case that you are defending with zero critical thought. And you know what we all do, us normal people, when we encounter evidence that is not yet 100% confirmed? We just let it be exactly as confirmed as it is. And then you wait. And if it gets confirmed, cool. And if it gets debunked, cool. But I guess if you wanted to have a breakdown of morality and raise $300,000 that you don't have to pay a retarded woman, to debate you on live TV so that you can really drive this point home about how immoral it is to put a freaking barbecue stop on a timeline that's like officially your show and you only have 2 witnesses and a receipt. It is unthinkable. It is genuinely makes me so angry when people do things so audaciously evil. Right? Right? Am I right, guys? Am I right? Am I right? Oh my God. The audacity to do such a thing. It's really grinds my gears.
Tyler Robinson's receipt, and yet inside of Candace Owens' timeline, which she states over and over again, when she says, this is the longest 13 hours, this is 13 and a half hours, the requirement for about roughly 5.5 or 6 hours of that is that he went to the steakhouse. And that's not been confirmed at all. Not even a little bit.
I feel like saying that I spoke to the owner of the steakhouse is me, like not just being on X looking at opinions, but actually doing the legwork. And that's why, like I said, if you think this builds up a rapport with your audience and makes you seem like a serious person, we don't have to keep belaboring the point here. I feel like I've demonstrated that I did as much as I could to confirm this when it came in. I spoke to the owner of the restaurant. Obviously.
When you've won the debate so handily that you can just be at the end and say, hey, if you feel like this is making you look like a serious person, you can keep going, but I'm happy to end it now if you want to save yourself. Yeah.
They took down everything he said, noted that there was, in fact, a receipt that he pulled. That receipt that was published is real. A debit card and a credit card was used. If for some reason somebody misidentified something down the line, or we find out it's a different Tyler Robinson, I'm happy to remove it from my timeline. But for right now, I think that there's enough under the Utah 1102 rule for me to keep it there. I don't really think we need to keep going into circles about this receipt. It's my timeline.
I don't know why the 1102 rule would apply here for years.
Because you constantly cite things that are said in that courtroom that have less evidentiary support than me contacting and speaking with the owner of the restaurant. It's not like I dreamed it, as to use your expression. So it's in my timeline, and I'm going to keep it there. If that's
sure, you can keep whatever you want there. I'm just saying that there's no evidence he was ever there.
Okay, thank you.
No hard evidence anyway. Yeah, I'm probably closing.
Okay, so the last thing we're going to do before we go into ad break, right after this, will be final thoughts. I'll be asking both of you if anything on your opinion, thoughts changed on the case, and then we'll finish it up from there. So with that being said, a 3.5 minute break, and we'll come back for final thoughts.
Cool. We're gonna skip the ad break. We're gonna fucking blast through these final thoughts. Holy shit, I'm so ready to be done. I love you guys. I love hanging out. But like, look, it's literally getting dark outside right now. Okay.
The following on, if you're a Candace,
Yeah, I do think need
send a message on one of our accounts. He said, can I talk to Patrick? We got on the call. He said, Patrick, can you moderate this? And then I said, great, let's do this. And so before we wrap up, final thoughts, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, she had nothing. Just nothing.
So this is probably, fortunately for Andrew, probably the smartest move he made in the entire debate, which was to get to his closing statement and to pretend that nothing had happened in the whole, to pretend that, to forget all of what had just happened and to just pretend that he had won outright and that there had been Candace hadn't said anything. It was a 0. It was a full sweep. He won 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. He is the victor without a question. He just steamrolled that right in there with zero connection to reality. And it was probably the smartest thing that he did in the entire debate. Because at least then he's leaving with a clip that he can share that can make, stupid people think that he won the debate. Smart move, man. Because it's basically all he had left at this point. Yeah.
For all of her claims of Patsy, nothing. She didn't have a single claim. She didn't have a single solid piece of evidence. She had no positive evidence Israel's involved in anything. No positive evidence that France is involved in anything. No positive evidence TPUSA is involved in anything. No positive evidence that Erica Kirk is involved in anything. When I ask her about her claims about Erica Kirk, it's just funning. It's just funning, Or I do think that she needs to sit down and ask some questions, or answer some questions. But you know what? I don't even know if she has. Like maybe she has. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to have an official timeline with unconfirmed evidence. That's just fine. Hey, it's hearsay. If that's good enough for the state, it's good enough for me. But my biggest problem with the state is that they're admitting all this hearsay. It's like she's a contradiction machine. On top of all of this, the thing that I wanted to get out of this more than anything else was to.
So just to clarify, basically every statement that he just said is not true. And is not connected to reality and is not what Candace thinks or says or does or did or any of it. Basically, that entire rant was just made up. And it was a smart move. It was all he had left, but it was made up.
Just demonstrate one thing. Yes, it's true. I'm not perfect on the case. I'm not going to ever pretend that I am and never did. But what has been made very clear to me is that there's nobody with an alternative theory that has any evidence for it at all.
That's a very strong statement, bud. You're not very smart.
None. Zero. And the continuous kind of expression, we're running an investigation. What kind of investigation builds a timeline out on a receipt that they don't even confirm? What kind of investigation tries to make these bold claims that Israel's involved and France is involved and all these different players are involved and never shows any evidence? We're just asking questions. It's again, like I said in my opening, it's always intuition, my feelings, how I feel about things, how I think about things. Andrew, how many times did you hear this today? Andrew, you can't tell me how I'm supposed to think. Yeah, nobody's trying to tell you how to think. But you should rationally come to your conclusions based on.
Yeah, no one's trying to tell you how to think, but you should think rationally. Hey, Andrew, listen, no one's trying to tell you how to talk, but you should probably stop.
Evidence and facts. And the truth is that 90% of what you're saying is simply intuition based. It came to me in a dream. It's intuition. Almost none of it has any evidence at all. Just I'm skeptical because these people over here said things and that makes me skeptical. And it's like, but no evidence. Note this to the audience, to everybody watching. You might hate my guts. That's fair enough. I get that. I'm not the most likable man. I understand that too. But there was nothing. I mean, no evidence at all that Tyler Robinson was a patsy that was ever put forward by Candace this entire debate. Now, maybe you could say that we stalemated when it came to whether or not Robinson did it. She says, I found the evidence convincing, unconvincing. Andrew says he found the evidence convincing. Okay, fair enough. Maybe
Andrew said, wait, what's the evidence? Can you read it to me? Can we put up on the screen?
Can't do too much about that, but there was nothing. She had nothing for Robinson being a patsy, nothing for any of her conspiracies, not a zero, zilch. And she backed away on a bunch of them. This is the first time I think she's ever really backed away from the Twigs thing. First time I've heard her back away from the Erica thing, back away from TPUSA, being very cautious about making any of those claims now. Whereas on her show, much more likely to be making those claims. So she just had nothing the entire debate. Zero.
Candace.
Well, I think that is quite a conclusion. Admitting somewhere, maybe we stalemated. It probably signifies what I've been saying from the beginning, that you didn't feel that you were strong on the actual facts and the evidence, which I was willing to engage with you. I wanted to go over the screwdriver. I wanted to go over the towel and the things that you've mentioned. And you wanted to then move the conversation into a defense of Erica Kirk and her character. And what I've said about Erica, which is my opinion. And I have not edited that opinion after discussing with you. I would like to extend a compliment to you for being willing to sit down and to have the conversation. I still walk away feeling that the people who are jumping on the bandwagon about this case don't care about this case. They don't care about Erica Kirk. It tends to be follow that they take a meeting with Turning Point USA and they come out and suddenly have a lot of junk to say about Candace Owens. And I do want to also stress that Turning Point USA tried to pepper him with something as a surprise. He showed clips that were meant to be a surprise. I did no such thing. I stressed to PBD from the beginning that I was grateful he was taking this on and that I wanted this to be a clean debate because I believe I can win this on the merits. And I believe that I did win this fully on the merits by engaging the evidence of what has happened. I do still believe that there's more evidence which supports that there are more people involved and that Tyler Robinson has been set up and that none of the evidence that was presented was in any way overwhelming, which is why I think you wanted to move to end that discussion quickly and to speak to me about France and to talk about this Panguitch receipt and my timeline. I want to remind people that a lot of the at-home investigators, which you were open to, as you called them, internet sleuths. I think it was on a show that you did right after Charlie was assassinated that internet sleuths would solve this. This is the reason why Charlie, a year on, is still a conversation every single day trending on Twitter. I knew Charlie. I cared about Charlie. I care about finding out what the truth is here. My heart is in the right place. I think anybody who watches my show or even just watch this debate knows that if I get something wrong, I'll instantly correct it and own it. I'm not arrogant. I don't need to sit here and pretend that I didn't misspeak on the Lance thing. It hasn't been ruled out. But you saw that he just really wanted to hammer that point. You know, part of being a well-meaning person is to concede when you are wrong, to take something off a timeline when you know it's not right. And I would like to think that that is why I have earned the audience that continues to follow me because they know my heart's in the right place, that I deeply cared about Charlie and I deeply care about the answers. I want to thank Andrew's team who are providing the fact checks. It's a very small room that they're in. I want to, as always, thank my team who worked really hard to make this happen and flip this set. And to you, PBD, just for being a great moderator. I think very fair, letting us both speak and making sure that Andrew got out of this what he wanted, which is a little more than what I wanted. But I'm very content with how I dealt with this. And I trust I don't need to convince the audiences with the magic trick of what they need to think about this debate. They can watch it and draw their own conclusions.
Beautiful. Fair from both of you. I think the audience won. And again,
Okay, that was a smart line, PBD. The audience won. Whatever. Pretty smart conclusion on Candace's part. She doesn't give a shit. And she's right. No one cares about this debate. Honestly, we've gotten all this way. And let's be real. Everyone that was on Candace's side, they just wanted to watch Andrew Wilson burn. And oh boy, have we not been disappointed. Everyone on Andrew Wilson's side didn't matter what was going to happen in the debate. They were just going to pretend that he won it. Although it is interesting to watch on Twitter today and tomorrow. I'm excited for tomorrow to see just how quickly the support here just evaporates because there's nothing to support. Yeah. Anyways, like Candace said, you can watch it for yourself and make up your own mind. And that's why I wanted to go through the whole thing. That's why I didn't want to just selectively pick out clips. Or at least not only do that. I wanted to also produce just like a full fucking, the whole thing. So that's what we did. It is now, as you can see, dark and I need to have dinner and go to bed. So thanks for being here. I've missed you all a lot. Life is still pretty wild over here. Health is still not at all where it needs to be. And I am still moving around like a crazy person trying to, whatever. Don't need to get into it, but I am around and I am, I was going to say I'm healthy and I'm not really that healthy, but, I'm alive. I'm perfectly well and safe. I'm happy. You don't need to worry about like me being okay. I'm perfectly fine. And I have great people that love me around me. And I also have a kind of an end time when my housing life is going to get much simpler after a little bit here. And I cannot wait to be chilling and have my studio set up. So thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for always supporting, liking, subscribing, sharing the video. It means a lot, especially when I'm so in and out of YouTube. I don't really know what else to say about that whole thing that just happened. But I'm glad it's over.
Conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.